Chapter 1991. However, under the suppression of the life seal, more than 90% of the Guardian Elder's power had been sealed. The barely condensed defense could not withstand Chu Fengmian's sword at all. Break for me! Chu Fengmian's two swords slashed down at the same time, instantly tearing apart the barriers condensed in front of the Guardian Elder. Slaughter! A murderous intent erupted from Chu Fengmian's body and condensed into the two swords. The slaughter swordsmanship slashed directly at the Guardian Elder. Sea God Shadow. Suddenly, a huge Sea God Shadow appeared. The Sea God Shadow held a trident and stabbed at Chu Fengmian. The Sea God Shadow was jointly displayed by the Sea Emperor of Donglin Sea and the other two ancestors of the Sea Sacrifice sect. They cannot sit idly by and let Chu Fengmian kill the Guardian Elder. The Sea God Shadow, condensed by the power of 3 celestial realm experts, already had the momentum of a real sea god. It dominated the 4 seas and was invincible in the world. Holding the trident, it blasted towards Chu Fengmian. You want to deal with me by condensing a sea god shadow? Life seal, smash it for me. Chu Fengmian looked at the sea god shadow and sneered. Under the urging of spiritual power, the life seal smashed down fiercely. Boom! The life seal smashed on the sea god shadow. With a rumble, the sea god shadow shook violently. The sea god shadow's body was smashed by the life seal. The phantom of the sea god was smashed into pieces by the mortal life great seal and shattered. The sea god shadow, condensed by the power of 3 celestial realm experts, could not withstand a single blow and was directly smashed into pieces by the life seal. Die! Chu Fengmian's eyes did not care about the smashed sea god shadow. His eyes were fixed on the Guardian Elder, containing boundless murderous intent. The slaughter swordsmanship, condensed by the slaughter swordsmanship, slashed down with a loud bang. The blood-red slaughter swordsmanship turned into tens of thousands of swords and slashed down. Boom! The Guardian Elder didn't even have time to defend himself. His body was enveloped by the sword light and was torn apart. His essence blood scattered in all directions. However, Chu Fengmian, who controlled the life seal, was the only ruler of this world. The Guardian Elder's essence and blood had nowhere to run. They were all sealed in a small space. Chu Fengmian sneered. With a thought, he activated the heaven-devouring secret technique, which turned into a huge black hole. The terrifying power sucked the Guardian Elder's blood essence into the black hole. The Guardian Elder's essence blood was completely devoured by the heaven-devouring secret technique. Not a single drop escaped. Following the refinement of the heaven-devouring mystic technique, only the Guardian Elder's blood-curdling screams were left in the black hole. The Guardian Elder's aura suddenly vanished. A celestial realm expert, one of the ancestors of the Sea Sacrifice School, the Guardian Elder responsible for guarding the temple, had fallen just like that. In the hands of Chu Fengmian, the Guardian Elder didn't even have the power to resist. He was mercilessly killed by Chu Fengmian. The Donglin Sea Emperor and the other 2 celestial realm ancestors of the Sea Sacrifice School were shocked to see the Guardian Elder killed by Chu Fengmian. The Guardian Elder was a celestial realm expert, but now he was killed by Chu Fengmian, a half-step celestial realm expert. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have been able to imagine this scene. If a warrior who was a half-step celestial realm expert could compete with a celestial realm expert, he could be called a genius, a monster. But now, Chu Fengmian was much more terrifying. He directly killed the Guardian Elder. Of course, all of this was due to the life seal. Chu Fengmian had obtained the life seal. With the life seal, Chu Fengmian's strength had improved tremendously. He finally had the ability to kill a celestial realm expert. I finally killed a celestial realm expert with my own hands. Chu Fengmian's heart was filled with emotions. A celestial realm expert had now died in the hands of Chu Fengmian. Once upon a time, the celestial realm was still an unreachable existence in Chu Fengmian's eyes. Before Chu Fengmian came to the Songhai Star Zone, the celestial realm experts were like legendary figures. But now, Chu Fengmian had the ability to kill a celestial realm expert. Although Chu Fengmian had once killed Lan Ming, a powerful figure who was not inferior to the celestial realm. Lanming was not a real celestial realm after all. Furthermore, Chu Fengmian had only been able to kill Lan Ming with the help of the Mad Dragon Emperor. The Guardian Elder, on the other hand, was a true celestial realm powerhouse. Furthermore, this time, he had killed the Guardian Elder all by himself. This made Chu Fengmian feel that the celestial realm was no longer a mysterious and unreachable existence. Chu Fengmian could kill a celestial realm expert, which meant that Chu Fengmian could kill a second and third celestial realm expert in the future. Chu Fengmian's eyes swept the area below. At least, Chu Fengmian did not intend to let any of these three people go. Seeing Chu Fengmian's eyes sweep over them, the Donglin Ocean Emperor and the other two Ocean Sacrifice sect patriarchs shuddered. The scene of the Guardian Elder being killed was still vivid in their minds, and they did not want to become the next Guardian Elder. Let's go. This person is not someone we can deal with. The Donglin Ocean Emperor roared. He no longer had the courage to fight Chu Fengmian. He could still suppress Chu Fengmian with a life seal, but without the seal, his strength was not much stronger than Chu Fengmian's. Moreover, this time, the life seal had fallen into Chu Fengmian's hands, so he did not want to continue fighting Chu Fengmian. Let's go, let's go. The other two Ocean Sacrifice sect patriarchs heard the Donglin Ocean Emperor's words and immediately moved, flying out of the space. The two of them no longer had the courage to continue fighting Chu Fengmian. They only wanted to escape. These celestial realm experts had all survived the celestial tribulation and narrowly escaped death to reach the celestial realm. They did not want to die at Chu Fengmian's hands like today. As long as they escaped from the space of the life seal, they could return to the Ocean Sacrifice sect. No matter how strong Chu Fengmian was, he would not be able to break into the Ocean Sacrifice sect and kill them. The East Forest Ocean Emperor and the other two ancestors of the Sea Sacrifice sect flashed and arrived at the edge of the space. They attacked at the same time. Three palm prints blasted out at the same time, bombarding the space created by the life seal. The joint bombardment of the three celestial realm experts suddenly caused countless cracks to appear in the space. Set a small goal first, such as 1 second to remember. Book Guest House mobile version. Chapter 1992. The combined attacks of the Donglin Ocean Emperor and the two patriarchs of the Sea Sacrifice sect actually caused countless cracks to appear in the space of the common life seal. Just now, in order to activate the Great Seal of Life to suppress these three people, Chu Fengmian had already exhausted the power of the Great Seal of Life. Now that it had to bear the joint attack of three celestial realm experts, it was already at its limit. Chu Fengmian's expression turned grave when he saw the cracks in the surrounding space. Although this space was within the Sea Sacrifice sect, it had been transformed into a separate space by the power of the Common Life Seal. The experts of the Sea Sacrifice sect outside couldn't sense the battle taking place in this space. Otherwise, the death of the Guardian Elder would have been enough to attract the attention of the Reverend Ocean Emperor. If the space of the Common Life Seal was shattered, the Reverend Ocean Emperor would definitely be alarmed. Tianlong Transformation. Chu Fengmian instantly unleashed the power of Primogenitor Tianlong to the extreme. Primogenitor Tianlong's power enveloped the entire space. Whoosh! The entire space of the Common Life Seal was forcibly moved by Chu Fengmian. He used his supreme power to move the Common Life Seal to the depths of the space. Chu Fengmian's purpose was to move the space of the Common Life Seal away from the Sea Sacrifice sect. This way, even if the space was shattered, the Reverend Ocean Emperor wouldn't be able to detect their auras. Chu Fengmian used the power of the Tianlong transformation to move the space of the Common Life Seal to the depths of the void. Only pitch-black darkness and bursts of spatial turbulence could be seen around them. This was the depths of the void, where the space was shattered. Even if a power was transmitted, no one would be able to detect it. To move a space into the depths of space with great force was something that ordinary people would not even dare to dream of. But now, Chu Fengmian had achieved such a shocking feat. Chu Fengmian had integrated the primordial energy that belonged to primogenitor Tianlong's claw and become a mutant of heaven and earth. He controlled the dragon origin source, and his attainments in the space Tao had also reached an extremely high level. Even so, Chu Fengyan still felt a sense of loss when he moved the space of the common life seal to the depths of the void. Such an action simply exhausted all of Chu Fengyan's strength. Even though Chu Fengyan had the divine veins and could absorb spiritual energy to recover at any time, it would be difficult for him to recover in a short period of time. Good. This person's energy was almost depleted. This was a good opportunity. Now is the perfect time for us to strike and kill this kid. When the East Forest Sea Emperor saw the space being teleported deep into the void, he started to panic. However, he quickly sensed that Chu Fengyan's aura was much weaker than before and immediately reacted. Letting out a long cry, he attacked. The trident in the East Forest Ocean Emperor's hand emitted a boundless radiance. All the radiance gathered at a single point and shot towards Chu Fengyan. The East Forest Ocean Emperor was someone who had experienced countless life and death battles. Naturally, he could tell at a glance that Chu Fengyan's spirit force was exhausted. This was his weakest moment and the best time for him to kill Chu Fengyan. The moment the East Forest Ocean Emperor attacked, a huge phantom of the sea god appeared behind him. This phantom of the sea god was a secret technique that the East Forest Ocean Emperor had activated by burning his bloodline power. Once this secret technique was activated, it would affect the strength of the future East Forest Ocean Emperor. However, in order to kill Chu Fengyan in one blow, the East Forest Ocean Emperor could not care less. He used all of his trump cards to seize this opportunity to kill Chu Fengyan. It wasn't just the East Forest Ocean Emperor. The other two Sea Sacrifice Sect Deva Realm Patriarchs reacted just a bit slower than the East Forest Ocean Emperor. However, before the East Forest Ocean Emperor had made his move, the two of them had made their move as well. Each of them displayed their most powerful killing moves. However, the two of them did not intend to kill Chu Fengyan. Instead, they used a kind of array formation. Waves of spiritual energy turned into monstrous waves that swept towards Chu Fengyan. Each wave was a part of the array formation. Thousands of waves rushed towards Chu Fengyan from all directions, sealing off his surroundings. It was one of the great arrays of the Sea Sacrifice Sect, the Thousand Waves Immortal Trapping Array. The words immortal trapping meant that even a sky human realm expert would be trapped in this array formation. The Myriad Waves Immortal Trapping Formation, which the two of them worked together, firmly locked Chu Fengyan in one place. Chu Fengyan had nowhere to retreat, and all his escape routes were cut off. Chu Fengyan's strength was now extremely weak. The two of them were not worried about whether the East Forest Ocean Emperor was a match for Chu Fengyan, but that Chu Fengyan would escape. The space of the Common Life Great Seal had been moved to the depths of the void by Chu Fengyan. Even if the three of them tore the space of the Common Life Great Seal, they would not be able to escape. This time, there was no way out for the three of them. They had no other choice but to kill Chu Fengyan. Since they were going to kill him, they had to kill him in one blow. If Chu Fengyan escaped this time, they would be the ones to die when Chu Fengyan recovered his strength. The cooperation of the three of them was flawless. The moment the Thousand Waves Immortal Trapping Array enveloped Chu Fengyan, the East Forest Ocean Emperor's trident slashed down at the same time. The power of the trident was already in front of Chu Fengyan. "You want to kill me?" Chu Fengyan sneered when he saw the joint attack of the three approaching him. Suddenly, his hand moved and the firmament Great Seal appeared in his hand. He smashed it towards the trident-wielding East Forest Ocean Emperor. At the same time, countless immortal stones flew out from the surroundings of the firmament Great Seal. There were a total of 100 immortal stones that enveloped the Great Seal. Suddenly, all the immortal stones shattered and turned into incomparably pure immortal chi that poured into the Great Seal. These immortal stones were obtained by Chu Fengyan from the Guardian Elder's empty ring. When Chu Fengyan killed the Guardian Elder, he also obtained the Guardian Elder's empty ring. From the Guardian Elder's empty ring, Chu Fengyan obtained more than 200 immortal stones. The Guardian Elder had always been responsible for guarding the sacrificial lake. He had a very high status in the sea sacrifice sect and had accumulated a large amount of wealth in his empty ring. The Great Seal of Life could be activated with immortal chi. It could burn immortal stones and was even more powerful when activated with immortal chi. This time, although Chu Fengmian had used the Tianlong change to move the Great Seal of Life to the depths of the void and consumed a lot of immortal chi, Chu Fengmian wasn't worried. He still had his greatest trump card, which was the Great Seal of Life. Although Chu Fengmian had consumed a lot of immortal chi, he had enough immortal stones to activate the Great Seal of Life. Genius 1 Second. Remember this site. Mobile version website. Chapter 1993. After burning 100 immortal stones, the immortal power of the common life seal suddenly grew, even more than when the East Forest Ocean Emperor had burned 200 immortal stones. Although the East Forest Ocean Emperor had burned a lot of immortal stones, he didn't know how to activate the common life seal. He hadn't made the seal recognize him as its master, and had only controlled it with brute force. Now that Chu Fengmian knew the common life emperor art, he had condensed a strand of common life emperor force. This strand of emperor force fused with the immortal power to activate the common life seal, allowing its power to reach its peak. Ancient inscriptions appeared on the common life seal. These ancient inscriptions seemed to record the stories of the common life emperor from an extremely ancient era, before the destruction of the primordial era. Every single inscription contained an inconceivable power. The more inscriptions that appeared, the more powerful the power of the life seal became. Rumble. Before the common life seal fell, its aura alone had the power to suppress heaven and earth. In the entire space, the East Forest Ocean Emperor and the other two patriarchs of the Oceanic Sacrifice sect slowed down a lot. Their figures were about to be suppressed by the power of the life seal. Beside Chu Fengmian, the countless waves of the 10,000 waves immortal trapping formation that surrounded Chu Fengmian were all shattered by this power. The common life seal, the immortal weapon of the once invincible common life emperor, was finally able to display its true power at this moment. Rumble. In the center of the space, the common life seal collided with the trident in the hands of the East Forest Ocean Emperor. The power of the aftermath was enough to destroy a continent. How terrifying was this power? At the core of this power, even a true Sky Realm expert would be shaken to death. Even the East Forest Ocean Emperor, who was wielding the trident, spat out a large mouthful of blood. He couldn't even hold the trident steadily. His hands were shaking from the impact of this power. Bam! The trident was sent flying from the Donglin Ocean Emperor's hand. At a glance, one could see that cracks had appeared on the trident. The trident was not a spiritual artifact or a half-immortal artifact. Instead, it was a true immortal artifact. However, when the Life Grand Seal collided with it, cracks began to appear on it. Immortal weapons were divided into strong and weak ones, and the strongest ones were the extreme immortal weapons. Although the common life seal wasn't an extreme immortal weapon, it was second only to extreme immortal weapons. The common life emperor was an invincible overlord during the primordial era. His strength even surpassed that of an immortal emperor. The common life seal had long transformed under his power. Although the trident was also an immortal armament, it was unable to contend against the great life seal in terms of strength. Not only was it knocked flying, but countless cracks had also appeared on it. Art of Ancient Emperor seizing the art of war. When Chu Fengmian saw the flying trident, he immediately used the Ancient Emperor's art of war to seize the trident. The trident was also an immortal weapon. Although Chu Fengmian had many spiritual weapons, including extreme immortal weapons like the Emperor's Jar and the Primordial Sword, he still didn't have a true immortal weapon. Even among Celestial Realm experts, immortal weapons were extremely rare. For example, although the two patriarchs of the Sea Sacrifice sect were experienced Celestial Realm experts, they didn't have an immortal weapon. Of course, Chu Fengmian wouldn't let go of the trident this time. He activated the Ancient Emperor's art of war, turning it into an invisible hand and grabbing at the trident. The trident had already recognized the East Forest Ocean Emperor as its master. When it sensed the Ancient Emperor's art of war, The trident let out a cry and erupted with power, trying to resist the ancient emperor's art of war. However, the East Forest Ocean Emperor had been seriously injured by the previous blow. He was powerless to activate the trident. No matter how hard the trident struggled, it was still caught by the invisible hand formed by the ancient emperor's art of war. When it fell into the invisible hand, the trident, an immortal weapon, was no longer able to resist and was grabbed by Chu Fengmian. However, the trident still had the mark of the East Forest Ocean Emperor and had recognized him as its master. Even if Chu Fengmian took the trident now, as long as the East Forest Ocean Emperor recovered his strength, he could easily take the trident back from Chu Fengmian. In order to make the trident an ownerless object, the mark of the East Forest Ocean Emperor must be erased. It was different from the Life Grand Seal. The East Forest Ocean Emperor had obtained the trident when he was young, and it had long since acknowledged him as its master. The trident was branded with the East Forest Ocean Emperor's mark, and it was indestructible. If it were an elite of the celestial realm, it would take at least a few months to completely erase the imprint of the East Forest Ocean Emperor on the trident. However, Chu Fengmian did not care. With a thought, the heaven-devouring power condensed at the tip of Chu Fengmian's finger. With a point of his finger, the heaven-devouring power was injected into the trident. The mark of the East Forest Ocean Emperor on the trident was indeed very troublesome for other Sky Realm powerhouses. However, it was nothing in Chu Fengmian's eyes. Chu Fengmian controlled the heaven-devouring origin and activated the heaven-devouring secret technique. It was enough to devour the heavens, let alone the mark of the East Forest Ocean Emperor on the trident. Boom! The heaven-devouring power was injected into the trident and immediately activated. In almost an instant, 30% of the indestructible mark of the East Forest Ocean Emperor on the trident was erased. In this way, the mark of the East Forest Ocean Emperor on the trident would be completely erased, and the trident would become an ownerless object. Exterminate all races. At this moment, an incomparably huge divine radiance bombarded from behind Chu Fengmian. Within this divine radiance, one could vaguely make out the shape of a trident. However, this trident was much more powerful, noble, and ancient than the trident that was an immortal artifact. It was the legendary trident of the Sea Clan's sea god. The trident appeared from the divine light, containing boundless killing intent as it slashed towards Chu Fengmian. This divine light appeared without a sound. It was impossible to tell when it had appeared. The two ancestors of the Oceanic Sacrificial Sect had taken advantage of the moment when Chu Fengmian was erasing the mark of the East Forest Ocean Emperor on the trident to attack him. When the trident descended, it seemed that nothing in the world could resist it. Loading up next chapters. Chapter 1994. The Two Seas Sacrifice Sect ancestors have been hiding their strength, as if they were waiting for the right moment to strike. Now, the opportunity had finally arrived. The moment Chu Fengmian obliterated the East Forest Ocean Emperor's mark on the trident suddenly descended and slashed at Chu Fengmian. Even Chu Fengmian didn't expect the Two Seas Sacrifice Sect ancestors to have such hidden strength. By the time Chu Fengmian reacted, the trident's tip was already less than a meter away from him. It was too late for him to dodge. Although Chu Fengmian was a little surprised, he didn't panic in the face of the trident slash. His heart was incomparably calm. Suddenly, waves of power poured into Chu Fengmian's immortal true body. In Chu Fengmian's body, the 129,600 immortal crystals transformed into little people. As Chu Fengmian's spirit energy poured into them, they immediately shattered. 129,600 immortal crystals fused into Chu Fengmian's body. The immortal true body's power was urged to the extreme to resist the trident's tip. Boom! The moment the immortal true body's power was urged to the extreme, the trident's tip ruthlessly slashed at Chu Fengmian's body. Bam bam! Countless immortal crystals trembled madly. The 129,600 immortal crystals bore the full brunt of the trident's power. Chu Fengmian wanted to use his immortal true body to resist the trident's tip. At the same time, the divine tree in Chu Fengmian's body was awakened. Countless roots of the divine tree were rooted in Chu Fengmian's body, guarding it with all their might. No matter how the trident's tip tore and attacked, Chu Fengmian's body still stood there, unshakable. Sky-devouring secret technique. Completely obliterate. Not only was Chu Fengmian resisting the trident slash, but he also unleashed the full power of the sky-devouring secret technique. The East Forest Ocean Emperor's mark on the trident was completely obliterated. Divine Tree. Devour. Chu Fengmian didn't hesitate to grab the trident and toss it to the divine tree for it to devour when the Donglin Sea Emperor's imprint was obliterated and it became an ownerless object. Although the trident was an immortal weapon, Chu Fengmian did not lack such a weapon. Hence, he decided to let the divine tree devour it. The divine tree in Chu Fengmian's body had also received tremendous benefits the moment Chu Fengmian stepped into the half-step celestial realm. Now, the divine tree was thousands of feet tall, and it was just missing an opportunity to take another step forward. This trident was a true immortal artifact, and it was the perfect opportunity. The trident was tossed to the side of the divine tree and was immediately enveloped by the power of the divine tree. Even though the trident was an immortal artifact, it was incapable of resisting the devouring power of the divine tree. Immediately, the power of the divine tree began to rise steadily. At the same time, the divine tree also became taller. The moment it devoured the trident, the size of the divine tree exceeded 10,000 feet. 10,000 feet was a bottleneck. The size of the divine tree exceeded 10,000 feet. It was as if a warrior had broken through a bottleneck. In an instant, its power skyrocketed countless times. The power of the Tree of God suddenly fused with the 129,600 immortal crystals in Chu Fengmian's body and fused together. The divine tree and the immortal crystals were two completely different powers. However, with the advancement of the divine tree, these two powers fused together and made Chu Fengmian's body countless times tougher, becoming indestructible. The trident's tip pierced into Chu Fengmian's body, but now it was wrapped by the immortal crystals, preventing the tip of the trident from going any further and damaging Chu Fengmian's body. Break for me! Chu Fengmian let out a long roar. The power of 129,600 immortal crystals was fully activated. Chu Fengmian's body became incomparably tall and indestructible. A tyrannical and boundless power swept through everything. Boom! Countless cracks appeared on the tip of the trident as it was swept by the boundless power. In the next moment, the entire trident was shattered into pieces. Chu Fengmian was unscathed after taking a blow from the trident. The trident was mercilessly shattered by Chu Fengmian. The 2C Sacrifice sect Celestial Realm ancestors had found the best opportunity to kill Chu Fengmian in one fell swoop. In their opinion, once the tip of the trident fell, Chu Fengmian would be seriously injured, if not killed. This result was something that the two of them could never have imagined, even in their dreams. Retreat. Run. The 2C Sacrifice sect patriarchs trembled and retreated continuously, as if to escape from this space and into the depths of the void. The two of them would rather face the spatial storm outside than face Chu Fengmian. In a single breath, the two of them had traveled dozens of miles and disappeared without a trace. The 2C Sacrifice sect patriarch's escape light was fast, but Chu Fengmian's escape light was even faster. Suddenly, Chu Fengmian's escape light arrived in front of the 2C Sacrifice sect patriarchs in a flash. Behind Chu Fengmian, countless sword chi flew out of the horizon sword case and condensed on the blade in Chu Fengmian's hand. Suddenly, the sword slashed down. Dying. Puff. One of the Sea Sacrifice sect patriarchs didn't even have time to block the sword. His body was penetrated by countless sword chi and exploded with a loud bang. His essence and blood didn't even have time to scatter in all directions. The heaven-devouring secret technique had appeared and turned into a huge black hole. All the essence and blood were mercilessly devoured by the heaven-devouring secret technique. Another Sky Realm expert had been killed by Chu Fengmian. The Sea Sacrifice sect patriarch's empty ring was was also taken by Chu Fengmian. A total of more than 200 immortal stones were directly extracted by Chu Fengmian. The remaining sea sacrifice sect patriarch looked at Chu Fengmian with incomparable fear in his eyes. His body flickered repeatedly as he tried to escape from Chu Fengmian. However, the moment he tried to leave, Chu Fengmian suddenly grabbed him with his hand. The power of the Primogeniture Tan Long gathered in Chu Fengmian's palm. The patriarch of the sea sacrifice sect had only just fled a few hundred kilometers away when Chu Fengmian's hand grabbed him and brought him back. Chu Fengmian looked at the sea sacrifice sect patriarch with an extremely cold gaze, and the sword in his hand fell again. However, at that moment, an incomparably huge arm suddenly descended from the sky. End of chapter. Chapter 1995. The arm seemed to have crossed thousands of miles to reach the depths of the void. The distance of millions of miles was nothing in front of the owner of this arm. The might of this palm had crossed millions of miles and landed with a loud bang. Boom! As the incomparably huge arm suddenly descended, countless cracks appeared in the space formed by the Great Life Seal. It was directly pierced through by the arm. The space formed by the Life Great Seal was difficult to shake even if several Celestial Realm experts joined forces. But now it was actually pierced through by that arm. Even the power of the common people's Great Seal was unable to match up to that arm. What kind of expert is this? An immortal? Or even an immortal general? Chu Fengmian shuddered when he felt the power of this arm. The power of this arm was too tyrannical and terrifying to the extreme. This was not something an immortal in the first 3 levels of the Celestial Realm could do. The owner of this arm was definitely an immortal warrior or even an immortal general. Among the countless experts in the Celestial Realm, he could be regarded as one of the best. Chu Fengmian originally wanted to kill the Donglin Ocean Emperor and the ancestor of the Oceanic Sacrificial Sect together with a thunderous force. He didn't expect that someone would suddenly make a move at this time. The arm crossed a distance of tens of thousands of miles and entered the space, heading straight for Chu Fengmian. The target of the arm was Chu Fengmian. Ocean Emperor worship. Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. He didn't need to think to guess who the owner of the arm was. Ocean Emperor worship, the strongest expert of the Songhai Starfield, the oldest ancestor of the Oceanic Sacrificial Sect, and also the foundation of the sect. Chu Fengmian sealed the space with the Life Great Seal and moved the space to the depths of the void with the power of Ancestor Tianlong. He was worried that Ocean Emperor worship would find out. But now that Chu Fengmian had killed the patriarch of the Sea Sacrifice sect, Emperor Worshipper was able to sense what was going on. Enraged, he sent a palm strike toward Chu Fengmian, intending to obliterate him completely. It's Ocean Emperor worship. This man has committed a heinous crime. He stole the sacrificial lake. Unforgivable. Ocean Emperor, please take action and kill this brat. The ancestor of the Sea Sacrifice sect shouted as though he had seen his savior when he saw the descending arm. Master, please take action. Guardian Elder, even Ancestor Ming, too, died at his hands. The East Forest Ocean Emperor shouted as well. Bastard. Upon hearing the words of the Sea Sacrificial Sect Patriarch and the East Forest Ocean Emperor, a thunderous roar echoed across the sky. This roar was filled with boundless fury, as if it wanted to incinerate everything. Boundless killing intent suddenly descended. An incomparably huge palm shrouded Chu Fengmian's head and slammed down. The power of this palm was simply enough to annihilate the space of the life mark along with Chu Fengmian. I was actually discovered at this time. Chu Fengmian frowned. If he had another half a minute, he could have killed the East Forest Ocean Emperor and the Poseidon Sect's Patriarch, taken all of their fortune, and fled without a trace. But at this critical moment, the Ocean Emperor actually took action. Although Ocean Monarch Worship's body was still thousands of miles away, the arm was still countless times stronger than an ordinary Celestial Realm martial artist attack. Tri-Sun Blazing Sword, Quadrangular Hurricane Sword, 9 Profound Sword Art. At that moment, Chu Fengmian also withdrew the 2 sword edges that he had prepared to slay the Patriarch of the Sea Sacrifice sect and injected sword intent into the 2 spirit swords. Countless sword techniques slashed towards the palm at the same time. Even celestial realm experts like the East Forest Ocean Emperor and the Guardian Elder would find it difficult to resist each of these sword arts. However, when the palm swept down, it swept through everything. The swordsmanship was shattered into pieces before the palm. It didn't even have the slightest bit of resistance. The Ocean Emperor's strength was too strong, far surpassing Chu Fengmian's. Although Chu Fengmian could contend with and even kill immortals, he was still a celestial realm expert. But the Ocean Emperor was an immortal warrior, a terrifying existence in the immortal general realm. There were 9 levels of immortal realm, and the difference in strength between each realm was dozens of times greater. The Ocean Emperor's strength had reached such a terrifying level. Chu Fengmian understood that he was no match for the Ocean Monarch when he saw that his sword skills were unable to stop the palm strike from the Ocean Monarch. If Chu Fengmian couldn't resist the palm that had crossed thousands of miles, he would be killed on the spot. Spirit Stones. Burn. Life Seal. In the blink of an eye, Chu Fengmian waved his hand and tossed out several hundred immortal stones. Chu Fengmian had just killed the Sea Sacrifice Sect Patriarch, so he took out all the immortal stones in his spatial ring. A total of over 300 immortal stones were ignited at the same time. Immortal force poured into the life seal, pushing its power to the extreme. Chu Fengmian held the life seal in his hand and clashed with the Ocean Emperor's palm. Bam bam! The collision of these two forces instantly caused the surrounding space, created by the common people's great seal, to explode. Chu Fengmian, the East Forest Ocean Emperor, and the others fell into the depths of the void. The life seal clashed with the palm countless times before finally stopping it. However, Chu Fengmian also paid a great price. The immortal force inside the life seal was completely depleted after the collision. It could be said that the wealth of more than 300 immortal stones had been burned in an instant and turned into power to withstand the attack of the palm. It was extremely extravagant. Even a sky-human powerhouse wouldn't be able to bear such an expensive price. Chu Fengmian had no other choice. Apart from burning the immortal stones and activating the life seal, he had no other means to contend with the Ocean Emperor. That palm was momentarily sent flying by the life Great Seal. However, it soon returned with an even more tyrannical power. It smashed toward Chu Fengmian to kill him. Run! Chu Fengmian didn't hesitate. His figure flickered as he fled into the depths of the void. When facing the East Forest Ocean Emperor, Chu Fengmian still wanted to kill him. However, the Ocean Emperor's tyrannical strength was far from what Chu Fengmian could handle. If he didn't leave now, he would undoubtedly die. End of chapter. Chapter 1996. Chu Fengmian had used up all of his immortal stones to block the Ocean Monarch's palm strike. However, Chu Fengmian had to burn all the spirit stones in his body in order to barely stop the Ocean Monarch's attack. Chu Fengmian didn't dare to fight the monarch any longer. The monarch's strength far exceeded Chu Fengmian's. Even if Chu Fengmian summoned the Mad Dragon Emperor and joined forces, they still wouldn't be a match for the monarch. The gap between each of the 9 levels of the immortal realm was enormous. If the monarch was an immortal warrior, he wouldn't be inferior to 10 immortals. Moreover, Chu Fengmian could sense that the monarch's strength wasn't just at the immortal warrior realm. He might even be at the immortal general realm. Such an invincible expert wasn't someone Chu Fengmian could contend with. This arm could be said to have crossed tens of millions of miles to strike over, and it almost killed Chu Fengmian with a single palm. Fortunately, Chu Fengmian had used the power of Tianlong transformation to pull the life seal into the depths of the void so as not to alarm the monarch. Although the monarch had discovered Chu Fengmian, his true body couldn't come immediately, giving Chu Fengmian a chance to escape. Chu Fengmian turned his head and looked at the East Forest Ocean Emperor and the remaining ancestor of the Sea Sacrifice sect with pity in his eyes. If Chu Fengmian could kill the East Forest Ocean Emperor and devour their blood essence, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. He might even reach the peak of the half-step celestial realm. However, Chu Fengmian couldn't stay any longer. Although the monarch's true body hadn't arrived yet, the monarch's monstrous arm could easily kill Chu Fengmian with its terrifying power. Space tearing. Chu Fumian gathered the power of the ancestral sky dragon in his palm and suddenly tore open a passage in front of him. In the depths of the void, amidst the endless turbulence of the void, he forcibly tore open a passage. Chu Fumian's figure flashed as he stepped into the passageway. In an instant, he disappeared from the void. He escaped. Chu Fumian opened his eyes and looked around at the unfamiliar scenery. He had left the depths of the void and arrived at a remote corner of the Shanghai starfield. Chu Fumian sensed that he had fled tens of millions of miles away. He could finally relax for the time being. He left the Shanghai star zone directly. Chu Fumian's purpose in coming to the Shanghai starfield had been accomplished. Chu Fumian's harvest in this trip to the Shanghai star zone was enormous. He had broken through to the half-step celestial realm, killed Lan Ming, seized the Xin Jing bloodline, and seized the Sword Dao totem from the Sea Sword sect. This time around, he had sneaked into the sacrificial lake and plundered wantonly. This time around, he had reaped a great harvest. Just the large amount of color-glazed water was a great fortune. Not to mention that Chu Fumian had seized the opportunity to seize a part of the Six Directions' mysterious water and countless saint pills from the treasury of the Sea Sacrifice sect. The harvest this time could be said to be more than what Chu Fumian had expected. Chu Fumian would refine these saint pills one by one, and his strength would improve by leaps and bounds. Moreover, with a large amount of colored glazed water, Chu Fumian could also dissolve the demonic will in the heart of the evil blood demon emperor and the absolute primordial sword. If these two treasures were used by Chu Fumian, his strength would improve even more in the future. But now, Chu Fumian still had to leave the Shanghai Star Zone and find an incomparably safe place to cultivate in seclusion. Only then could he transform these gains into his strength. After all, no matter how many fortuitous encounters he had, Chu Fumian had to cultivate in seclusion to transform them into his strength. This time, Chu Fumian had already gained a lot in the Shanghai Star Zone, but he had also provoked the two biggest behemoths in the Shanghai Star Zone, the Sea Sacrifice sect and the Sea Sword sect. It was too dangerous to continue to stay in the Shanghai Star Zone. Chu Fumian observed the surroundings and prepared to leave the Shanghai Star Zone directly and return to the Daluotian Star Zone. As long as he could return to the Daluotian Star Zone, no matter how powerful the Worship Ocean Emperor was, he wouldn't be able to find traces of Chu Fumian. If Chu Fumian could break through to the celestial realm and pass the celestial tribulation, his strength would undergo earth-shaking changes. It should be known that Chu Fumian had only stepped into the half-step celestial realm, but his various fortuitous encounters had all undergone a transformation, and his strength had increased by more than 10 times. The benefits of stepping into the celestial realm were 10 times more than when he stepped into the half-step celestial realm. Once Chu Fumian stepped into the celestial realm, even if the Worship Ocean Emperor came looking for him in the future, Chu Fumian wouldn't have to be afraid. Once Chu Fumian stepped into the celestial realm, it would be hard to say who would win in the future if he fought the Worship Ocean Emperor. As Chu Fumian thought about it, he observed the surroundings, trying to figure out where he had come to. In order to escape, Chu Fumian had directly torn the space apart, allowing him to cross thousands of miles in an instant. However, Chu Fumian didn't know where he had landed. However, he was still surrounded by the sea, so Chu Fumian could still be sure that he was still in the Shanghai Star Zone. However, he still needed to observe for a while to find out where he was. Chu Fumian had killed Lan Ming and obtained his memories. Lan Ming's memories were much more than Hai Shirsi's. Lan Ming had been to the entire Shanghai Star Zone. Chu Fumian looked at the surrounding sea and felt a sense of familiarity, as if there was a faint demonic intent. Although the demonic intent was extremely thin, Chu Fumian could still feel it. This is the chaotic sea. The moment Chu Fumian felt the demonic intent, he suddenly recognized the identity of the surrounding sea. There is only one sea in the Shanghai Star Zone that had demonic intent, and that was the chaotic sea. The chaotic sea was a well-known sea in the Shanghai Star Zone. Chu Fumian had once come to the chaotic sea in order to destroy the glittering Jewel dynasty. He had even gone deep into the chaotic sea and encountered the Yuan Whale Emperor. He had almost died at the hands of the Yuan Whale Emperor. Chu Fengmian was no stranger to the chaotic sea. However, what surprised him was that he had coincidentally arrived at the chaotic sea after tearing the space apart. Chu Fengmian was now at the edge of the chaotic sea, so the demonic intent in the sea was extremely thin. Chu Fengmian didn't notice it at first. As long as he went deeper, he would truly enter the chaotic sea. Boom! The space around Chu Fengmian was suddenly shattered. End of chapter. Chapter 1997. Chu Fengmian's expression changed drastically when he sensed the space around him shattering. He scanned the area with his spiritual consciousness and saw a huge arm in the depths of the shattered space. It broke through countless space and bombarded Chu Fengmian's direction. Chu Fengmian naturally knew the origin of this arm. It was the arm of the sacrificial ocean monarch. Chu Fengmian didn't expect that the sacrificial ocean monarch would want to kill him so badly. Even though Chu Fengmian had escaped tens of thousands of miles away, the sacrificial ocean monarch was still chasing after him. This time, he had sneaked into the sacrificial lake and plundered a large amount of sacred elixirs and glazed clean water accumulated over countless years. Then, Chu Fengmian killed 2 celestial realm ancestors of the Sea Sacrificial Sect. The Sea Sacrificial Sect couldn't bear such a huge loss. For tens of thousands of years, the Sea Sacrificial Sect had been the only overlord of the Songhai Starfield. The Sacrificial Ocean Monarch had no intention of letting Chu Fengmian go. This time, he was determined to kill Chu Fengmian even if he had to chase him all the way. Behind this incomparably huge arm, a figure could be clearly seen. This figure wasn't the Sacrificial Ocean Monarch's incarnation. It wasn't a condensation of his power, but his real body. This time, the Sacrificial Ocean Monarch didn't hesitate to leave the Sea Sacrificial Sect in order to kill Chu Fengmian. The Sacrificial Ocean Monarch usually cultivated in seclusion in the Sea Sacrificial Sect and hadn't left for tens of thousands of years. But this time, the Sacrificial Ocean Monarch was truly enraged. That was why his real body came out to kill Chu Fengmian. Damn it, you can't hide from the Sacrificial Ocean Monarch in the Songhai Starfield. This time, Chu Fengmian tore through space and traversed tens of thousands of miles. It took him some time to determine where he was. But the Sacrificial Ocean Monarch's pursuit came so quickly. The entire Songhai Starfield seemed to be under the Sacrificial Ocean Monarch's control. No matter where Chu Fengmian fled, the Sacrificial Ocean Monarch would be able to hunt him down. Kid, you dare to sneak into the Sacrificial Lake today. Do you think you can leave alive? Where's the face of the Sea Sacrificial Sect? You can run to the ends of the earth. You won't be able to escape from this Emperor's palm. The Ocean Monarch looked at Chu Fengmian coldly and said in an indifferent tone, "Now, kneel down and repent for your sins. Considering that you have some talent, I can spare your life as a servant of the Sea Sacrifice Sect. If you still want to resist, then the only path left for you is death." Really? Make me a slave? Even the heavenly Tao can't do it. You don't have the ability. Chu Fengmian sneered. His body suddenly turned into a beam of light and flew towards the depths of the chaotic ocean. Now that Ocean Monarch was chasing after him, Chu Fengmian had no choice but to run. The entire Songhai star system was under the control of the Ocean Monarch. Even if Chu Fengmian tried to escape by tearing space apart, it would be pointless. The Ocean Monarch would be able to hunt him down in an instant. Every time Chu Fengmian tore space, he had to use Tianlong's power. Tearing space consumed a lot of power, and Chu Fengmian couldn't keep tearing space. There was only one place in the entire Songhai star system that the Ocean Monarch couldn't control. It was the chaotic ocean. The history of the chaotic ocean was much older than the history of the Sea Sacrifice Sect. According to the countless ancient books of the Sea Sacrifice Sect, they were extremely afraid of the chaotic ocean. Chu Fengmian had killed Lan Ming and obtained his memories. According to Lan Ming's memories, even the Sea Sacrifice Sect was extremely afraid of the chaotic ocean. They didn't allow their disciples to enter the chaotic ocean at will. It could be said that there were many secrets in the chaotic ocean. Even sky humans didn't dare to set foot in it. The last time Chu Fengmian entered the depths of the chaotic ocean. He had encountered the terrifying Origin Whale Emperor. The Origin Whale Emperor that Chu Fengmian had discovered was only a small part of the chaotic ocean's secrets. There were many more secrets in the chaotic ocean. As Chu Fengmian's strength increased, Chu Fengmian could sense that the chaotic ocean was filled with secrets the last time he entered it. Chu Fengmian had no choice but to enter the chaotic ocean if he wanted to escape from the hands of the ocean monarch and avoid being hunted down. Chu Fengmian understood everything in an instant. Without hesitation, he flew towards the center of the chaotic ocean. The chaotic ocean? The ocean monarch's figure traversed countless spaces and followed closely behind Chu Fengmian. The ocean monarch looked like a middle-aged man in a golden robe. He didn't look like an ancestor at all. However, the ocean monarch was an immortal warrior or even an immortal general. He had a long lifespan. Therefore, even though he had lived for tens of thousands of years, he still looked very young. Looking at Chu Fengmian's flying light flying into the chaotic ocean, his eyes were filled with caution. Clearly, there was an existence in the chaotic ocean that even he was afraid of. Even so, the ocean monarch still followed Chu Fengmian closely into the chaotic ocean despite his apprehension. Chu Fengmian's infiltration of the sacrificial lake had disgraced the ocean sacrificial sect. If they didn't kill Chu Fengmian, how could the ocean sacrificial sect establish themselves in the Songhai Star Zone? The ocean monarch's escape light rushed into the chaotic ocean. He was even faster than Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian controlled the power of the ancestral sky dragon, and his comprehension of the Tao of space was extremely high. Although Chu Fengmian was only in the realm of half-step celestial realm, his escape light was much faster than celestial realm powerhouses. However, the ocean monarch's escape light was even faster than Chu Fengmian's. In a few breaths, the ocean monarch's escape light had almost caught up with Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian probed with his spiritual consciousness and saw this clearly. Damn it, the ocean monarch is definitely an immortal general. He has condensed immortal power. Chu Fengmian could clearly feel that the power radiating from the ocean monarch was no longer spiritual power, but immortal power. Even the first two levels of the celestial realm, immortal realm, and immortal soldier realm experts' power was still spiritual power, not immortal power. Only those who had stepped into the third level of the celestial realm, the immortal general realm, could truly transform their spiritual power into immortal power. This was a qualitative change. The difference between spiritual power and immortal power was like the difference between heaven and earth. For example, the common people's Great Seal couldn't even unleash 1% of its original power when activated with spiritual energy. Only by using celestial energy could one barely activate it. Any immortal art, secret art, or escape light would be completely different when activated with immortal power. End of chapter. Chapter 1998. Chu Fengmian had guessed that the emperor was either at the peak of the immortal warrior realm or at the immortal general realm. However, Chu Fengmian hadn't been able to determine the emperor's true strength since he'd been facing the emperor's attacks from tens of thousands of miles away. Now that he'd seen the emperor's true body and the raging spiritual energy around him, Chu Fengmian was certain that the emperor was a terrifying immortal general. Only immortal generals could condense their energy and convert their spiritual energy into immortal energy. Chu Fengmian was strong enough to fight even an immortal warrior. Even if he couldn't beat them, he could still escape unscathed. However, it was a different story if he faced an immortal general. Just like the Ocean Emperor in front of him, using his immortal power, Ocean Monarch's speed far exceeded Chu Fengmian's. Chu Fengmian couldn't escape even if he wanted to. Chu Fengmian wasn't most confident in his strength, but his escape skills. He'd grasped the power of primogenitor Tianlong and tore through space to transform into primogenitor Tianlong. With these two methods, Chu Fengmian had evaded countless dangers. Last time, Chu Fengmian snuck into the Seaward sect to seize the Sword Dao totem. It was precisely because of this that he was able to escape the pursuit of the Waterfront Sea Emperor. But right now, all of these methods were useless in the face of the Ocean Monarch. Chu Fengmian's most confident escape light was easily surpassed by the ocean monarch. There's still some distance to the center of the chaotic ocean. Chu Fengmian's eyes were filled with anxiety. Once the emperor caught up to him, it'd be his death. Chu Fengmian had to burn all of his immortal stones in order to block the life seal, even though the ocean monarch's spirit energy had crossed a great distance to unleash a palm strike. Now, Chu Fengmian had to face the emperor's true body, who was countless times more terrifying than the arm from before. Life seal. Chu Fengmian roared and infused all of his life force into the life seal, driving it towards the ocean monarch who was chasing after him. Now that Chu Fengmian had exhausted all his spirit stones, he had no more spirit stones to burn to activate the Great Seal of Life. The Great Seal of Life was Chu Fengmian's strongest attack. However, Emperor Jihai didn't seem to care about the life seal at all. He waved his hand, and the life seal was sent flying back to Chu Fengmian's hand. Chu Fengmian's full-powered attack had been neutralized by the emperor with a wave of his hand. This was the terror of the emperor. All of his strength was immortal power, so any attack he made was equivalent to Chu Fengmian's immortal power burning. His casual attack had earth-shattering power. You can make the life seal recognize you as its master. It is said that this is the immortal item of the Common People Emperor. Only the successor of the Common People Emperor, someone who understands the Common People Emperor art, can make the Common People Great Seal recognize him as its master. I didn't expect you to know the Common People Emperor art. The emperor looked at Chu Fengmian curiously after sending the seal flying. The East Forest Sea Emperor had once shown the mortal life seal to the Reverence Ocean Emperor in an attempt to make it recognize him as its master. However, all his methods have been useless. Only someone who understood the Mortal Life Emperor incantation would be able to make the seal recognize him as its master and unleash its full power. Now that the seal had recognized Chu Fengmian as its master, it meant that he knew the Life Emperor art. Not bad. You don't look like someone from the Shanghai Starfield. Looks like you have an extraordinary background and a lot of opportunities. It's a pity to kill you. I'll imprison you and make you my slave to make up for the loss of the Oceanic Sacrifice sect. The emperor looked at Chu Fengmian and said casually. From his tone, it was as if Chu Fengmian's fate was in his hands. Damn it. Hearing the words of the ocean monarch, Chu Fengmian was infuriated. However, Chu Fengmian knew that he was no match for the ocean monarch, even if he gave it his all. A half-step celestial going against an immortal warrior expert. Even the most monstrous genius in history couldn't do that. Chu Fengmian's life seal couldn't shake the ocean monarch at all. He couldn't even slow down the ocean monarch's escape light. Everything was useless now. No need to talk nonsense with you. If we keep chasing you, we'll be in trouble once we reach the depths of the chaotic ocean. Get over here. As he spoke, he sped up and arrived beside Chu Fengmian in the blink of an eye. His incomparably huge palm reached out to grab Chu Fengmian. The emperor was 100 meters tall, and his palm was even bigger than Chu Fengmian's. He wanted to grab Chu Fengmian in his palm. Chu Fengmian felt as if all the good fortune he'd had was about to be taken away from him when the ocean emperor reached out to grab him. The mortal emperor jar, life emperor seal, ancestral dragon paragon sword, titanic K godly sword, and even the divine tree in his body were all trembling on the verge of flying out his body. The ancient emperor's art of war. What the emperor was using was the ancient emperor's art of war. The ocean monarch could also see that Chu Fengmian's strength was based on his countless adventures. That was why he was able to kill a celestial realm expert and even escape from the ocean monarch's hands when he was only a half-step celestial realm expert. After taking Chu Fengmian's spirit treasures and fortuitous encounters, Chu Fengmian was no more than an ant before him, a toothless tiger. However, the power unleashed by the ocean monarch and Chu Fengmian were completely different, even though they were both the ancient emperor's art of war. The same secret technique would have a different effect when used by different people. Moreover, Emperor Raging Ocean was an immortal general with immortal energy. The true power of the ancient emperor's art of seizing war was the true power of the ancient emperor's art of seizing war. In ancient times, the art of war was feared by countless powerhouses. Of course, it wasn't as strong as Chu Fengmian's version. Emperor Sea-worshipping was using the ancient emperor's art of seizing war to seize all of Chu Fengmian's good fortune and treasures. Sky Devourer's secret art. Devour the heavens. Immortal power. Devour. At this critical moment, Chu Fengmian suddenly let out a long roar. His body merged with the heaven-devouring secret technique and turned into a huge black hole. Genius memorized this address in 1 second. Mobile reading website. Chapter 1999. The art of seizing the ancient emperor's art of war used immortal power to form a palm. As it reached for Chu Fengmian, the sky-devouring secret technique devoured much of its immortal power. The sky-devouring secret technique had the power to devour the heavens. Now that the art of seizing the ancient emperor's art of war was only a secret technique, the sky-devouring secret technique easily devoured it. The sky-devouring secret technique activated and devoured the power of the art of seizing the ancient emperor's art of war, greatly reducing the pressure on Chu Fengmian. However, that wasn't Chu Fengmian's goal. Chu Fengmian's goal was the immortal power Ocean Monarch had used to activate the art of seizing the ancient emperor's art of war. The sky-devouring secret technique could devour everything in the heavens, including immortal power. Waves of pure immortal power poured into Chu Fengmian's body with the sky-devouring secret technique. All of the immortal power flowed into Chu Fengmian's 129,600 immortal crystals. 1/3 of the 129,600 immortal crystals had transformed after absorbing immortal power from the battle between Chu Fengmian and Lan Ming. The remaining 2/3 were still in their original state. Ocean Monarch was using the art of seizing the ancient emperor's art of war to seize Chu Fengmian's countless fortuitous encounters. Chu Fengmian also seized the opportunity to use the sky-devouring secret technique to devour the immortal power contained in the art of seizing the ancient emperor's art of war. Immortal power was devoured by the sky-devouring secret technique and poured into Chu Fengmian's body. It was divided and devoured by the remaining immortal crystals. In the blink of an eye, the immortal power equivalent to 100 immortal stones was devoured by the sky-devouring secret technique. More than 10,000 immortal crystals were upgraded after devouring immortal power. 40% of the immortal crystals in Chu Fengmian's body had been upgraded. The upgrade of these immortal crystals also meant that Chu Fengmian's strength was increasing. The bloodline of the sky-devouring beast. Ocean Monarch observed the black hole vortex Chu Fengmian had transformed into. With his experience, he immediately recognized it as the bloodline of the sky-devouring beast. Only the sky-devouring secret technique activated by the bloodline of the sky-devouring beast could devour his immortal power. Reverend Ocean Monarch immediately saw through Chu Fengmian's intention to use the heaven-devouring mystic art to devour his immortal energy. It's true that your bloodline is strong, but if you want to devour my power, you're dreaming. Jihai Monarch sneered. His figure flashed as he sent another palm strike at Chu Fengmian. This palm descended from the sky with a power that could shake heaven and earth. Chu Fengmian, who was enveloped by this palm, did not even have the time to react before the might of this palm landed ruthlessly on the black hole formed by the sky-devouring secret technique. The heaven-devouring secret skill had the power to devour the heavens. However, Chu Fengmian was not a true heaven-devouring beast. His power was not that invincible. The power of this palm had far exceeded the endurance of the sky-devouring secret technique. The black hole formed by the sky-devouring secret technique was instantly shattered, and Chu Fengmian's body was sent flying. Countless cracks appeared on the 60% of the immortal crystals that had yet to be upgraded. These undying crystals that hadn't evolved couldn't withstand the attacks of the worship Ocean Emperor. The 60% of undying crystals that hadn't evolved were all destroyed mercilessly by the worship Ocean Emperor's palm. Only the remaining 40%, which had been upgraded by devouring immortal energy, could barely withstand the power of the Ocean Monarch's palm. Even if Chu Fengmian went all out, he still couldn't contend with the worship Ocean Emperor. This was a hopeless situation. The Worship Ocean Emperor showed no mercy. After the palm strike, he suddenly gathered immortal power and used the ancient emperor's art of seizing war. Chu Fengmian had taken the brunt of the palm strike and was gravely injured. He couldn't even mobilize the power of his bloodline. The Worship Ocean Emperor seized this opportunity to use the ancient emperor's art of seizing war again. This time, Chu Fengmian didn't even have the strength to resist. The spirit treasures in his body were on the verge of leaving his body and flying toward Ocean Monarch Chu Fengmian. Many of the spiritual weapons on Chu Fengmian's body had been with him for a long time and were already closely related to his strength. But now, they were unable to resist the ancient emperor's art of war and were about to be taken away. Roar! At this critical moment, a deep roar that shook the heavens and earth suddenly rang out. This roar came from the depths of the chaotic ocean. Previously, when Chu Fengmian heard this roar, his entire body trembled in fear. However, when he heard this roar this time, it was as if Chu Fengmian had grasped onto his last life-saving straw. Chu Fengmian glanced over and saw a colossal creature 10,000 feet long swimming out from the depths of the chaotic ocean. It was the Origin Whale Emperor. Chu Fengmian had rushed into the chaotic ocean to use the Origin Whale Emperor to escape the pursuit of the Worship Ocean Emperor. Although Chu Fengmian was the Origin Whale Emperor's enemy, the Worship Ocean Emperor was also the Origin Whale Emperor's enemy. Once they stepped into the depths of the chaotic ocean, all living things would become the Origin Whale Emperor's enemy. The energy fluctuations generated by the battle between Chu Fengmian and the Worship Ocean Emperor had awakened the Origin Whale Emperor from his slumber. Chu Fengmian could sense that the Origin Whale Emperor's power was on par with the Worship Ocean Emperor. The Origin Whale Emperor roared furiously when he sensed the aura of Chu Fengmian and the Worship Ocean Emperor. His colossal body moved, and a towering wave swept over. Chu Fengmian had seen the power of this wave before. Even a sky-human realm elite would be smashed to pieces by this wave. Damn it! The Worship Ocean Emperor's face darkened when he saw the Origin Whale Emperor. He was unwilling to enter the depths of the chaotic ocean because he was wary of many existences in the chaotic ocean. The Origin Whale Emperor was one of those existences that he was wary of. There were countless experts hiding in the chaotic ocean, like countless demonic sections. Many people who had committed all kinds of evil deeds in the Songhai Star Zone, or who were enemies of the Oceanic Sacrificial Sect, were hiding in the chaotic ocean. Among these people, there were Sky Human Realm elites. With the help of demonic intent in the chaotic ocean, they were even stronger than the East Forest Ocean Emperor and the Waterfront Sword Ocean Emperor. Therefore, even the Ocean Emperor, who was a Sky Human Realm elite, was unwilling to enter the chaotic ocean. The Origin Whale Emperor was an absolute overlord among the countless experts in the chaotic ocean. No one dared to provoke him. The Origin Whale Emperor had always been in a deep slumber in the eye of the chaotic ocean. The last time Chu Fengmian had accidentally intruded, he had awakened the Origin Whale Emperor and infuriated the Origin Whale Emperor. This time, the Origin Whale Emperor was even more furious when he sensed the battle between Chu Fengmian and the Worship Ocean Emperor. He wanted to kill Chu Fengmian and the Worship Ocean Emperor. End of chapter. Chapter 2000. The power of this huge wave was dozens of times stronger than the huge wave that Yuan Whale Emperor had unleashed against Chu Fengmian. Chu Fengmian was nothing more than an ant in the eyes of the Origin Whale Emperor when he barged into the eye of the sea. He didn't take him seriously at all. That was how Chu Fengmian managed to escape from the Origin Whale Emperor. But this time, the Origin Whale Emperor was furious when he sensed Chu Fengmian and the Reverend Ocean Monarch. Neither Chu Fengmian nor the Reverend Ocean Monarch could withstand the power of this wave. If the stalemate continued, both of them would perish together. The Reverend Ocean Monarch's face darkened when he saw the incoming wave. He had captured Chu Fengmian, and this was the best opportunity to subdue him. However, the arrival of the Yuan Whale Emperor had ruined all his plans. If he continued to be entangled with Chu Fengmian, he would only end up perishing together with Chu Fengmian. Damn it! After finally capturing Chu Fengmian, The ocean monarch was extremely unwilling to let him go. However, he also didn't want to die with Chu Fengmian in the hands of the yuan whale monarch. The reverent ocean monarch's expression changed drastically when he saw the approaching wave. He made a decision and retreated continuously. He channeled his immortal power and unleashed countless defensive secret techniques to protect his body. However, as the ocean emperor retreated, he suddenly split off a portion of his power and sent it crashing down on Chu Fengmian's divine wonder. Chu Fengmian had just escaped and was suppressed by the immortal power. He was trapped on the spot and couldn't dodge the incoming wave. The reverent ocean monarch didn't want to let Chu Fengmian go even at the last moment. His original intention was to capture Chu Fengmian alive and make up for the loss of the sacrificial lake. Now that the Yuan whale emperor had come out of nowhere, the ocean monarch's plan was ruined. However, the ocean monarch didn't intend to let Chu Fengmian go. When he retreated, he suppressed Chu Fengmian. He wanted Chu Fengmian to die in the hands of the Yuan whale emperor. Not good. Chu Fengmian unleashed his full strength when he saw the incoming wave. However, his body was suppressed by the power of the ocean monarch, and he couldn't move at all. Even though the ocean monarch had only used a small portion of his power, Chu Fengmian still couldn't resist the suppression of his immortal force. The difference in cultivation between Chu Fengmian and Ocean Monarch was so great that Chu Fengmian had no chance to fight back. In the blink of an eye, the wave arrived in front of Chu Fengmian. Undying true body, bless me with the power of the tree of God. Xianjing, ancestor Tianlong, heaven-devouring beast, shadow of the three beasts. With nowhere to run, Chu Fengmian could only try his best to resist. The power of the immortal true body and the tree of God were pushed to the extreme, strengthening Chu Fengmian's physical strength to the extreme. At the same time, the shadows of the three innate divine beasts appeared behind Chu Fengmian. They represented the power of the three innate divine beasts in Chu Fengmian's bloodline. Even if Chu Fengmian unleashed his full strength, he still couldn't shake off the suppression of the ocean monarch, nor could he resist the origin whale monarch. However, Chu Fengmian had no choice but to unleash his full strength to fight for a chance at survival. Waves that contained boundless terror swept over. Before the waves, everything in the heavens would be crushed alive. Even the cultivators of the celestial realm would not be able to withstand the power of the waves. Although the origin whale monarch didn't command, his strength surpassed the ocean monarch's through instinct alone. One could imagine the power of his furious attack. The ocean monarch had already retreated to the edge of the chaotic ocean. He knew that the origin whale monarch could only move in the chaotic ocean. As long as he left the chaotic ocean, he would be safe. How many fortuitous encounters did this kid have? 3 innate divine beasts' bloodlines appeared in his body, and he even condensed the immortal true body at the half-step celestial realm. The ocean monarch looked in the direction of Chu Fengmian from afar, his eyes filled with pity. If he could capture Chu Fengmian, he would be able to take all of Chu Fengmian's treasures for himself. It should be known that the bloodlines of the 3 innate divine beasts were extremely beneficial to the experts in the celestial realm. It was a great opportunity. But now, the origin whale monarch had taken action. The ocean monarch didn't dare to fight against the origin whale monarch. He could only retreat as far as he could. He looked in the direction of the chaotic ocean. Boom! The power of the wave swept over Chu Fengmian's body. Chu Fengmian felt that his body was going to be crushed in an instant. Even the immortal true body couldn't resist the power of the wave. Chu Fengmian's physical body was crushed and rebuilt time and time again. Almost in an instant, Chu Fengmian's strength was exhausted. Just as Chu Fengmian couldn't hold on any longer, the power of the wave suddenly disappeared. Chu Fengmian couldn't understand this sudden turn of events. The power of the ocean waves could easily crush Chu Fengmian. However, the origin whale emperor had actually let Chu Fengmian off. Chu Fengmian didn't even have time to rejoice. An incomparably huge figure of a giant beast appeared in front of Chu Fengmian. It was the origin whale monarch. The origin whale monarch looked at Chu Fengmian, opened its bloody mouth, and swallowed Chu Fengmian into its stomach. The origin whale monarch didn't kill Chu Fengmian, but it didn't mean that it wanted to let Chu Fengmian go. It wanted to devour Chu Fengmian alive. The origin whale emperor opened its huge mouth and devoured Ali, and Chu Fengmian, without any ability to resist, were swallowed into the origin whale emperor's stomach. This scene was also clearly seen by Seaside Monarch. What a pity! The ocean monarch could only sigh. But now, Chu Fengmian had been swallowed by the origin whale monarch. If he could capture Chu Fengmian and obtain the countless fortuitous encounters from Chu Fengmian, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. He might even be able to break through to a higher realm. One should know that the three types of innate divine beast bloodlines, the divine tree, and the immortal true body were all fortuitous encounters that even the ocean monarch hadn't obtained. But this time, the origin whale monarch had benefited from all of them. After swallowing Chu Fengmian, the origin whale monarch glanced at the ocean monarch. Seeing that the ocean monarch had already left the chaotic ocean, the origin whale monarch let out a long howl, turned around, and returned to the eye of the chaotic ocean to continue his slumber. Genius 1 second. Remember this address. Mobile version website. Chapter 2001. Chu Fengmian only felt a massive suction force pulling him into the belly of the origin whale emperor. By the time he came back to his senses, all he could see was darkness before his eyes. Although it was pitch black, Chu Fengmian knew where he was right now. In the belly of the origin whale emperor. The origin whale emperor originally had the opportunity to kill Chu Fengmian directly. However, it didn't do so. Instead, it swallowed Chu Fengmian into its belly. Chu Fengmian hadn't expected this. However, the origin whale emperor hadn't swallowed Chu Fengmian to save him. Chu Fengmian could clearly sense the hostility of the origin whale emperor. Before Chu Fengmian could relax, an overwhelming demonic intent suddenly drifted towards Chu Fengmian from the belly of the origin whale emperor, trying to corrode him. Demonic intent. The body of the origin whale emperor was actually filled with demonic intent. It was like a demonic domain. No wonder the origin whale emperor has no intelligence or consciousness. It turns out that it has been corroded by the demonic intent. After sensing the overwhelming demonic intent, Chu Fengmian suddenly understood why the origin whale emperor didn't seem to have any intelligence at all. One had to know that the origin whale race was a tyrannical race that wasn't inferior to the ancestral Tianlong race. Their intelligence was extremely high, even surpassing that of humans. However, the origin whale emperor didn't seem to have any intelligence. Chu Fengmian had found it strange at first, but this time, when Chu Fengmian was swallowed into the Yuan whale emperor's stomach, Chu Fengmian understood. It turned out that the Yuan whale emperor was like the other Yuan whales in the chaotic ocean, completely corrupted and driven mad by the demonic will. Boundless demonic intent tried to corrode Chu Fengmian. However, Chu Fengmian suddenly flipped his palm and a string of Buddhist beads appeared in his palm. This string of Buddhist beads emitted a dazzling Buddhist glow that illuminated Chu Fengmian's body. These were the Buddhist prayer beads that Chu Fengmian had obtained from the Buddhist temple of the Pure Land. Chu Fengmian didn't cultivate Buddhism, so these Buddhist prayer beads weren't very useful to him. Chu Fengmian rarely took them out and usually kept them in his spatial ring. However, these Buddhist treasures were the best means to restrain the demonic intent. The Buddhist prayer beads emitted boundless Buddhist light that instantly neutralized at least 50% of the demonic intent that was corroding Chu Fengmian. As for the remaining demonic intent, Chu Fengmian condensed his spiritual energy to prevent it from affecting him for the time being. This demonic will is a little strange. It actually wants to devour my strength? Chu Fengmian resisted the demonic will's corrosion and also split out a ball of energy to absorb a strand of demonic will. Chu Fengmian discovered that this demonic will wasn't trying to corrode Chu Fengmian, but was actually trying to devour Chu Fengmian's energy. In other words, the origin whale emperor had swallowed Chu Fengmian into its stomach in order to refine him alive. Xian 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 xian, xian's xian xian's is this a xian xian? Xing Xian's voice sounded in Chu Fengmian's mind. Chu Fengmian's mind became clearer when he heard this. The Origin Whale Emperor had indeed wanted to kill Chu Fengmian. However, when Chu Fengmian unleashed his bloodline power to block the attack of the waves, the Origin Whale Emperor suddenly changed its mind and devoured Chu Fengmian instead. The Origin Whale Emperor was a demon immortal emperor who had inherited the Xian Whale bloodline. The Xian Whale bloodline was a great supplement to him. The purer the bloodline, the stronger the Origin Whale Emperor would be in the future. The Origin Whale Emperor was eroded by the devil will and had fallen into madness, but he still retained his instincts. He knew that the Xian Whale bloodline in Chu Fengmian's body was extremely useful to him, so he swallowed Chu Fengmian to devour his power. These devil intents were the method the Origin Whale Emperor used to devour Chu Fengmian. It was extremely difficult for Chu Fengmian to resist the devouring of the demonic will. Even though Chu Fengmian had divine veins, his recovery speed could not match the devouring speed of the demonic will. This was with the effect of the 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads. Without the 10,000 thoughts Buddhist beads, Chu Fengmian's situation would be even more difficult. Chu Fengmian felt that he could resist the corrosion of the demonic will for a short period of time, but in the long run, Chu Fengmian would definitely be devoured by the demonic will and be trapped in the whale's belly. I have to find a chance to leave this whale's belly. Chu Fengmian circulated his spiritual power and tried to find a way to break out of the whale's belly. However, as soon as Chu Fengmian's spiritual power was released, it encountered a barrier formed by the demonic will. This barrier dissolved all of Chu Fengmian's power. Chu Fengmian's attacks were unable to move the barrier at all. Chu Fengmian's continuous attacks were unable to move the barrier at all. Why is there such a barrier in the Origin Whale Emperor's belly? Chu Fengmian frowned as he observed the barrier. Chu Fengmian could see that as long as he could break this barrier, he would be able to escape from the Origin Whale Emperor's belly. However, no matter how Chu Fengmian bombarded the barrier, he was unable to move it at all. Even when Chu Fengmian used the sky-devouring secret technique to devour it, he was still unable to gain anything. One should know that Chu Fengmian's sky-devouring secret technique could even devour the formation set up by a Celestial Realm expert. However, Chu Fengmian's sky-devouring secret technique was unable to do anything to the barrier in the Origin Whale Emperor's belly. Although this is the Origin Whale Emperor's belly, haven't you noticed that this place has already formed a world of its own? This is the Origin Whale Emperor's internal world. While Chu Fengmian was puzzled, Xing Xian appeared and said after observing the surroundings, "This Origin Whale is quite talented and has already formed an internal world. It's a pity that it has been corrupted by the demonic will. Otherwise, its strength would be even stronger." Internal world? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered when he heard this term. His expression changed abruptly as he recalled this term. The Immortal Marquis realm has its own internal world. There were 9 levels of the Immortal Realm, and each level represented a different ability. The 3 levels of the Celestial Realm. The Immortal Realm allowed one to create a technique with a single thought. The Immortal Warrior Realm allowed one to have an immortal body and immortal bones. The Immortal General Realm allowed one to gather immortal energy. The 4th level of the Immortal Realm surpassed the Celestial Realm and reached the next level, the Immortal Marquis Realm of the Profound Heaven Realm. The Immortal Marquis Realm allowed one's body to form a world of its own. The Origin Whale Emperor has reached the Profound Heaven Realm, the Immortal Marquis Realm, Chu Fengmian said in surprise. The 4th level of the Immortal Realm, the Immortal Marquis Realm, surpassed the Celestial Realm and reached the Profound Heaven Realm. Set a small goal first, such as 1 second to remember. Book Guest House Mobile Edition. Chapter 2002. Although Chu Fengmian knew that the Origin Whale Emperor was terrifyingly strong, and even the Ocean Worship Monarch was no match for him, he didn't expect the Origin Whale Emperor to have reached the Profound Heaven Realm, the Immortal Marquis Realm. It could be said that the Ocean Worship Monarch was far inferior to the Origin Whale Emperor. It was no wonder that the Ocean Worship Monarch could only run away when he saw the Origin Whale Emperor. If the Origin Whale Emperor could leave the chaotic ocean, the strongest expert in the vast sea star field wouldn't be the ocean worship monarch, but the origin whale emperor. I'm actually in the origin whale emperor's internal world. Chu Fengyan observed his surroundings with a frown. The origin whale emperor had swallowed Chu Fengyan into his internal world in order to use the demonic will to devour Chu Fengyan. In a short time, Chu Fengyan could resist the demonic will with the help of the 1,000 champ Buddha beads and the recovery of his divine veins. However, the demonic will in the origin whale emperor's internal world was endless. Chu Fengyan could resist it for a while, but not forever. Therefore, Chu Fengyan wanted to find a chance to leave the origin whale emperor's stomach. But now that the origin whale emperor had reached the immortal Marquis realm and formed his own internal world, it would be extremely difficult for Chu Fengyan to leave. This inner world was much sturdier than the space formed by the common people's Great Seal. Unlike the life Great Seal, this internal world was supported by the origin whale emperor's power. It could be said that Chu Fengyan's continuous attacks would be useless. Without external help, you won't have a chance to leave unless you reach the celestial realm. Xingxian looked at Chu Fengyan and said calmly, "Reach the celestial realm." Chu Fengyan's face showed some helplessness. Chu Fengyan had indeed plundered a large number of divine elixir pills in the sacrificial lake. With so many divine elixir pills, it was indeed enough for other martial artists or demon gods to step into the celestial realm. As long as they cultivated diligently and refined all the divine elixir pills, it wouldn't be difficult for them to reach the celestial realm. But it was different for Chu Fengyan. The difficulty for Chu Fengyan to break through to the celestial realm was definitely 10,000 times, or even 100,000 times more difficult than ordinary martial artists and demon gods. It should be noted that Chu Fengyan had encountered many fortuitous encounters when he was at the half-step celestial being realm. He had refined the flying immortal pill, killed Lan Ming, seized his bloodline, and accumulated a large number of longing immortal stones to help Chu Fengyan step into the half-step celestial being realm. The difficulty of breaking through to the celestial realm was 10 times or even 100 times more difficult than the half-step celestial realm. Chu Fengyan had just stepped into the half-step celestial realm. Although Chu Fengyan had absorbed the quintessence blood of the 2 Deva patriarchs from the Sea Sturm sect and had stabilized his cultivation base, he was still a long way from the Deva realm. Moreover, Chu Feng was currently sleeping in the belly of the origin whale emperor. He had to divert his energy to resist the devouring of the demonic intent at any moment. He simply had no time to cultivate, unless he was strong enough to resist this demonic will. Chu Fengyan was severely injured in the fight with the ocean monarch just now. 60% of his immortal crystals were shattered. Indeed, he needed to cultivate in seclusion to recover from his injuries. However, in this self-proclaimed world in the belly of the origin whale emperor, almost every corner was filled with demonic will. Chu Fengyan walked around and got the same result. As long as he was in the belly of the origin whale emperor, there was demonic will everywhere. There was no quiet place at all. Only by resisting the demonic will could Chu Fengyan cultivate in peace. The surrounding demonic intent is exactly the same as the demonic intent of the chaotic ocean. However, the origin whale emperor has lived in the center of the chaotic ocean for too long. I wonder how long it has been for the demonic intent in its body to be so dense. Chu Fengyan walked in the belly of the origin whale emperor while observing the surrounding demonic will. He could tell that this demonic will was the demonic will of the chaotic ocean. He wondered what kind of demon was hiding in the chaotic ocean. The demonic will had eroded the entire ocean and turned it into the chaotic ocean. Kacha! As Chu Fengyan walked, he suddenly stepped on something. The origin whale emperor's abdomen was pitch black. Chu Fengyan couldn't see clearly what it was. When he bent down to take a look, he saw that it was a set of white bones. A set of white bones. It was unknown how long the skeleton had been there. The clothes on its body had long since rotted away. There was no trace of strength left, so Chu Fengyan didn't even notice its existence. Only when he bent down and got closer did he see that it was a human skeleton. This should be someone who was devoured by the origin whale emperor. Chu Fengmian mumbled to himself. There wasn't a single trace of spiritual power left on this skeleton, but Chu Fengmian carefully observed it. On the white skeleton, there were actually many green-blue lines. These blue lines were engraved on the bones. They were engraved with the power of the bones. They were not external forces, but had become one with the bones. Immortal bones. What did the green-blue runes on it represent? They were immortal runes. Immortal runes condensed from immortal energy. These immortal runes could be seen in some immortal treasures. The life seal also had such immortal runes. When the immortal runes appeared on the skeleton, it meant that the cultivator's body had been transformed into immortal bones. Immortal warrior realm, immortal body, immortal bones. The owner of this skeleton had been an immortal warrior when he was alive. He was much stronger than the Waterfront Sword Emperor and the East Forest Ocean Emperor. His immortal body had likely been devoured by the demonic will in the Origin Whale Emperor's belly. Chu Fengmian couldn't sense any spiritual energy from this skeleton. This immortal warrior had probably been swallowed by the Origin Whale Emperor. Just like what the Origin Whale Emperor had done to Chu Fengmian, the Origin Whale Emperor had used the demonic intent in his body to devour this expert bit by bit. The expert's flesh, blood, and spiritual energy had all been devoured, leaving only the immortal bones that had lost their power. Even immortal warrior realm powerhouses are trapped in the belly of the Origin Whale Emperor. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but smile wryly at the sight of this immortal skeleton. An immortal warrior expert couldn't leave after being devoured by the Origin Whale Emperor and could only be devoured alive by the demonic will. No matter how strong a cultivator's spiritual energy was, there would be a day when it ran out. Chu Fengmian had the protection of the 10,000 Thoughts Buddhist beads and the recovery of his divine veins. It was already very difficult for him to resist the demonic will, let alone these people. This immortal warrior might be stronger than Chu Fengmian, but he probably wasn't as good as Chu Fengmian when it came to dealing with the demonic will. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Mobile reading website. M. Chapter 2003. This immortal bone has already lost its spiritual power. It's useless now. Chu Fengmian glanced at the immortal bone and lost interest. He continued walking in the belly of the Origin Whale Emperor. The spatial ring of the owner of this immortal bone had long disappeared. It must have been completely devoured by the demonic intent. No spiritual power could escape the devouring of the demonic intent in the belly of the Origin Whale Emperor. This immortal bone was left behind because it no longer had any spiritual power. Chu Fengmian continued onward, and before long, another set of skeletons came into view. This skeleton was different from that of a human. Chu Fengmian could tell that it was the skeleton of a marine race expert. The marine race reigned supreme in the vast seas star field. They had far more experts than humans. The owners of these skeletons must have come to the chaotic seas to explore. They must have provoked the Origin Whale Emperor and been mercilessly devoured by it. It was the skeleton of an expert. Although it hadn't transformed into an immortal bone, Chu Fengmian could tell that it was at least the skeleton of an immortal. Chu Fengmian continued walking and saw 2 more skeletons. These 2 skeletons were still there. They were also the skeletons of celestial realm experts. The world in the belly of the Origin Whale Emperor wasn't big. Chu Fengmian finished walking in a short while and found a total of 4 skeletons. There were 4 skeletons in the belly of the Origin Whale Emperor, all of them celestial realm experts. To the Origin Whale Emperor, demonic immortals who hadn't reached the celestial realm didn't even have the right to be devoured. They could be killed at will. When the Origin Whale Emperor had first encountered Chu Fengmian, it had also wanted to kill Chu Fengmian. However, it had changed its mind and swallowed Chu Fengmian after seeing the mysterious whale bloodline in Chu Fengmian's body. It seems that once you fall into the belly of the Origin Whale Emperor, you'll definitely die. Chu Fengmian laughed bitterly when he saw the 4 skeletons, especially the immortal bone. Even an immortal warrior couldn't escape from the Prime Whale Emperor's belly. This was enough to prove how difficult it was to break out of the world inside the Prime Whale Emperor's belly. It's indeed extremely difficult to leave the internal world of an immortal marquis. At the very least, it's impossible for you to break it before you reach the celestial realm. Xing Xian also spoke. However, this Yuan Whale Emperor is different from an ordinary immortal marquis. It has already sunk into madness and has lost its intelligence. This internal world is only activated by instinct. It's easier to escape from the internal world of Yuan Whale Emperor than from the internal world of a real immortal marquis. If the Origin Whale Emperor were to fight with someone else and use its power, the defense of this inner world would weaken. At that time, you would have a chance to break out. Wait until the Yuan Whale Emperor fights with the others, then we'll have a chance. Chu Fengmian pondered. He knew that Xing Xian's words made sense. The defense of the Yuan Whale Emperor was, in fact, the condensation of its power. If the Yuan Whale Emperor were to fight with a strong opponent, it would have to use its full power. At that time, the defense of this internal world would weaken. At that time, Chu Fengmian would be able to break out of this internal world and escape. That being said, it wouldn't be easy for the Yuan Whale Emperor to fight with a strong opponent. The Yuan Whale Emperor was the overlord of the chaotic ocean. Every expert in the vast sea star field knew of his illustrious name. No one was willing to provoke the Yuan Whale Emperor. Chu Fengmian was forced into a corner by the ocean monarch, which was why he rushed into the chaotic ocean. He wanted to use the Yuan Whale Emperor to escape from the ocean monarch's pursuit. Chu Fengmian's plan succeeded, but he was also trapped in the belly of the Yuan Whale Emperor, unable to leave. Only by finding a way to restrain these demonic intents can I cultivate in peace, recover my strength, and wait for an opportunity. Chu Fengmian was extremely calm. The more desperate the situation was, the calmer he had to be. Chu Fengmian had been through countless life and death battles. Even if he was trapped in a desperate situation, Chu Fengmian had to remain calm. When he was chased by the ocean monarch, Chu Fengmian's situation was even more dangerous than when he was in the belly of the Yuan Whale Emperor. Although Chu Fengmian had to face the endless devouring of the demonic intents in the belly of the Yuan Whale Emperor, Chu Fengmian could still withstand it for a short period of time. His life wouldn't be in danger. When Chu Fengmian was being chased by the ocean monarch, he could have died at the hands of the ocean monarch if he wasn't careful. Moreover, it wasn't as if Chu Fengmian had no chance of escaping. The situation wasn't too bad. However, Chu Fengmian had to think of a way to restrain the devouring of the demonic intents. Otherwise, he wouldn't even be able to recover from his injuries. Sky Devouring Secret Technique. Devour. Chu Fengmian quietly operated the Sky Devouring Secret Technique and devoured the surrounding demonic intents. A large amount of demonic intents were devoured by the Sky Devouring Secret Technique, but the surrounding demonic intents didn't decrease in the slightest. The demonic intents in the belly of the Yuan Whale Emperor were simply endless. Chu Fengmian operated the Sky Devouring Secret Technique for a few minutes before giving up. It was meaningless to continue devouring. It was impossible for Chu Fengmian to devour all the demonic intents in the belly of the Yuan Whale Emperor. Using the Sky Devouring Secret Technique consumed a large amount of spiritual energy. If it was outside, Chu Fengmian wouldn't have cared. But now, Chu Fengmian was in the belly of the Yuan Whale Emperor and had to use his spiritual energy to resist the corrosion of the demonic intents. The recovery speed of his divine veins couldn't keep up with the speed of consumption. Consuming a large amount of spiritual energy at this time was no different from courting death. The demonic intents here are almost endless. What should I do? Chu Fengmian frowned as he pondered. There was no way to retreat. No matter where he was in the belly of the Yuan Whale Emperor, it was filled with demonic intents. It was impossible to find a place without demonic intents. It was even more impossible to dissolve and devour the demonic intents. The demonic intents were almost endless. Even if Chu Fengmian operated the Sky Devouring Secret Technique with all his might, he might not be able to devour all the demonic intents in a year. And in less than a year, Chu Fengmian's spiritual energy would be exhausted to death. The demonic intents didn't seem to be fatal, but they were incomparably difficult to deal with. No one could think of a way to deal with them. Demonic intents, demonic intents. Chu Fengmian's mind was thinking about this. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. A beating heart appeared in Chu Fengmian's palm. Genius memorized this site's address in a second. Mobile reading website. Chapter 2004. The heart appeared in Chu Fengmian's hand and was still beating as if it was still alive. Every time the heart in Chu Fengmian's hand beat, there was an incomparably serene demonic intent emitting from it. This heart was the heart of Demon Emperor Blood Demon that Chu Fengmian finally obtained in the Pure Land Buddhist temple. Even though Chu Fengmian had planted layers of restrictions, the heart of Demon Emperor Blood Demon still emitted a shocking demonic intent. This demonic intent was enough to invade the body of a martial artist or a demon god and affect their consciousness. It could even drive them crazy. Demon Emperor Blood Demon had fallen for countless years, but this heart was still beating and contained a shocking demonic intent. Chu Fengmian could not deal with this demonic intent. Chu Fengmian had lived 2 lives, and his Tao heart was firm. The demonic intent could not affect Chu Fengmian, but Chu Fengmian also could not deal with the demonic intent in the heart of Demon Emperor Blood Demon. Therefore, Chu Fengmian could only suppress the heart of Demon Emperor Blood Demon in the deepest part of the empty ring. This time, one of Chu Fengmian's purposes in coming to the vast sea star region was to obtain the colored glaze clean water to dissolve the demonic intent in the heart of Demon Emperor Blood Demon. Demon Emperor Shuexia was an invincible demon emperor. Even among the numerous famous demon emperors in the history of the Devil Tribe, Demon Emperor Shuexia was the most tyrannical one. According to the records in the ancient books, Demon Emperor Shuexia's strength at his peak was not inferior to the old ancestor of the Devil Tribe, the 10 celestial demons. This heart of Demon Emperor also contained a shocking power. It should be known that after such a long time, this heart still contained demonic intent and was still beating. This was enough to prove the terror of this Demon Emperor Blood Demon. The value of Demon Emperor Blood Demon's heart was no less than an immortal weapon. For the experts of the Demon Clan, it was even more priceless. It was impossible to estimate. They could even comprehend the supreme demonic path of Demon Emperor Blood Demon from this heart. Chu Fengmian did not cultivate the demonic path, so the supreme demonic path of Demon Emperor Blood Demon was naturally useless to him. What Chu Fengmian needed was the power contained in the heart of Demon Emperor Blood Demon. Of course, before that, Chu Fengmian had to use the colored glaze clean water to remove the demonic will from the Demon Emperor's heart. Now that Chu Fengmian had obtained a large amount of colored glaze clean water, Chu Fengmian was confident that he could use the colored glaze clean water to remove all the devil intent in the heart of the evil Blood Demon Emperor. However, Chu Fengmian had taken out the heart of the evil Blood Demon Emperor not to refine it, but to use it to deal with the demonic intent in the abdomen of the Origin Whale Emperor. Chu Fengmian held the Demon Emperor Blood Demon's heart in his hand. Soon, waves of demon will emanated from it. Although they were both devil intent, the devil intent in the evil Blood Demon Emperor's heart was completely different from the devil intent in the Yuan Jing Emperor's stomach. The demonic intent in the Origin Whale Emperor's stomach contained a devouring power that was similar to the heaven-devouring power. It was constantly devouring this spiritual energy. On the other hand, the devil intent in the evil Blood Demon Emperor's heart had the ability to erode a person's consciousness and turn them into a demonic slave. These 2 types of devil intent were extremely terrifying. Even Celestial Realm experts were unwilling to face them. If they were given a choice, the devil intent in the evil Blood Demon Emperor's heart would be more terrifying. After all, the devil intent in the Yuan Jing Emperor's stomach could be resisted with spiritual energy. However, the devil intent in the evil Blood Demon Emperor's heart could erode one's consciousness and attack one's Tao heart. No matter how strong a martial artist or demon god was, if their Tao heart was not strong enough, they would be affected by the devil intent in the evil Blood Demon Emperor's heart. If it was light, they would be possessed by the devil intent. If it was serious, they would be turned into a demonic slave and be controlled by the devil intent. In comparison, The devil intent in the Yuan Jing Emperor's stomach could be resisted with spiritual energy and was easier to deal with. However, it was only effective against ordinary martial artists and demon gods. For Chu Fengyan, the devil intent in the evil blood demon emperor's heart could not affect him at all. The devouring devil intent in the Yuan Jing Emperor's stomach was more troublesome for Chu Fengyan. If he was faced with the devil intent in the evil blood demon emperor's heart, Chu Fengyan could cultivate and recover from his injuries. Although he would not be able to gather all his strength to break through to the next realm, he would be able to recover from his injuries, and the situation would be much easier for him. Although these two types of devil intent belong to the demonic Tao, they were completely different. Chu Fengyan took out the evil blood demon emperor's heart to deal with the devouring devil intent. Boundless demonic intent spread out from the heart of the evil blood demon emperor and surrounded Chu Fengyan. This demonic intent collided with the devouring demonic intent in the abdomen of the Yuan whale emperor and started to fight fiercely. The two types of devil intent clashed again and again. Chu Fengyan stood there and waited quietly. In a few minutes, the outcome of the battle was decided. The demonic blood demon emperor was, after all, an invincible demon emperor. The demonic intent left in the demonic blood demon emperor's heart was even stronger than the demonic intent in the origin whale emperor's abdomen. After expelling all the demonic intent in the origin whale emperor's abdomen, a 5-meter circle was drawn out. The devil intent in the evil blood demon emperor's heart occupied the space within the circle. However, the devouring devil intent in the Yuan Jing Emperor's stomach was still outside the circle. Although the devil intent in the evil blood demon emperor's heart was strong, it was only emitted from the evil blood demon emperor's heart. Compared to the boundless devouring devil intent, it could only occupy a space of 5 meters. However, this was enough for Chu Fengyan. Chu Fengyan wanted to use the devil intent in the evil blood demon emperor's heart to deal with the devouring devil intent in the Yuan Jing Emperor's stomach. Chu Fengyan came to the 5-meter wide space and sat down. He began to circulate his spiritual energy to heal his injuries. A few elixirs appeared in Chu Fengyan's palm. These were the divine elixirs that Chu Fengyan had obtained from the palace in the sacrificial lake. They had the effect of healing injuries. As the elixirs entered his mouth, Chu Fengyan activated the sky, devouring secret technique, and refined them all in an instant. The essence of the elixirs flowed into Chu Fengyan's body. 60% of the 129,600 immortal crystals in Chu Fengyan's body had been shattered by the ocean monarch's continuous attacks. Many of the immortal crystals were broken, and their energy had been depleted. They could no longer exert any power. These divine elixirs were refined by the sky-devouring secret skill. Immediately, countless medicinal efficacies poured into the broken immortal crystals. Under the nourishment of the medicinal efficacies, the broken immortal crystals began to reform one after another. End of chapter. Chapter 2005. These divine elixir pills were all from the Sea Sacrifice sect's treasury. The weakest one was a divine elixir pill of the Middle Ages. Any one of these divine elixir pills could be sold for a sky-high price, attracting countless experts to fight over them. This time, in order to recover the 60% of the broken immortal crystal, Chu Fengyan had swallowed more than 30 divine elixir pills in one breath. A large amount of medicinal efficacy poured into the immortal crystal and reformed it. Such a sacred elixir was no less valuable than a life for those in the half-step celestial realm, or even for those in the celestial realm. In times of extreme crisis, such a sacred elixir could save a life. Now, Chu Fengyan had swallowed more than 30 divine elixir pills in one breath. It was extremely extravagant. However, Chu Fengyan could still afford such extravagance. This time, Chu Fengyan sneaked into the palace of the sacrificial lake and seized 1/10 of the divine elixir pills in the palace. The divine elixir pills in the palace were dazzling like stars in the sky. There were more than 100,000 of them. Although Chu Fengyan had only seized 1/10 of them, he had seized more than 10,000 divine elixir pills, which was an astronomical figure. It was impossible for any celestial realm expert to have more than 10,000 divine elixir pills. Moreover, this time, Chu Fengmian had killed Lan Ming, the guardian elder, and the patriarch of the Sea Sacrifice sect. The three of them were important figures in the Sea Sacrifice sect and had countless divine elixir pills on them. Now, Chu Fengmian was so rich that he didn't care about swallowing more than 30 divine elixir pills in order to recover from his injuries. A large amount of medicinal efficacy poured into the immortal crystal. Soon, all the immortal crystals were reconstructed and restored to their previous strength. However, at the same time, demonic shadows suddenly appeared in Chu Fengmian's mind. These demonic will contained boundless power and tempted him. As long as Chu Fengmian opened his Tao heart and accepted these demonic shadows, he would possess invincible power. These demonic shadows were eroded by the demonic will and demon emperor Shuexie's heart. Although the demonic will and demon emperor Shuexie's heart wouldn't devour Chu Fengmian's power, it was enough to affect Chu Fengmian's mind. While Chu Fengmian was fully focused on recovering from his injuries, the demonic will eroded Chu Fengmian's consciousness and lured him in. The power contained in the demonic shadows was irresistible to all martial artists and fey gods who pursued strength. If one could not control the temptation of ascending to the heavens in a single step, one would fall completely under the control of the demonic will. However, Chu Fengmian's eyes were incomparably cold. With a cold snort, all the demonic shadows exploded in Chu Fengmian's mind and disappeared. His Tao heart was strong enough to subdue the king of heart demons. Although the remaining demonic will and demon emperor blood demon's heart was enough to affect Chu Fengmian, it was impossible for it to erode Chu Fengmian. Of course, this was because Chu Fengmian's Tao heart was strong enough to resist the demonic will. Secondly, it was also because Chu Fengmian was not cultivating but recovering from his injuries, so he could split his consciousness to deal with the demonic will. The effects of such demonic intent on normal days were still manageable. Most warriors and fey immortals could withstand it. However, when one had no time to divert one's attention, this kind of devil would become incomparably troublesome and difficult to deal with. Regardless of whether it was when one encountered a powerful enemy or when one was making a breakthrough, one would be eroded by the devil will if one was unable to divert one's attention to deal with the devil will. In history, many experts who eventually succumbed to the demonic will have been eroded by the demonic will when they encountered a strong enemy. They could not resist it and succumbed to the demonic will. Chu Fengmian did not dare to break through the realm under the erosion of the demonic will, but it was not a problem for him to recover from his injuries and cultivate. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days passed. Chu Fengmian's broken immortal crystals had been completely restored. All the broken immortal crystals had been reformed. At the cost of more than 30 divine elixir pills, the countless pure medicinal efficacy not only reformed the broken immortal crystals, but also transformed them into the power of the immortal crystals. Although the power of the reformed immortal crystals was far less than the 40% transformed by the immortal power, they were still much stronger than when they were broken by the ocean monarch. His injuries were completely healed. Chu Fengmian was relieved. After recovering from his injuries, Chu Fengmian would be able to escape from the origin whale emperor's stomach if he had the chance. What Chu Fengmian needed to do now was to wait for an opportunity. He needed to wait for the origin whale emperor to fight with someone or for an accident to weaken the defense of the inner world. That would be the opportunity for Chu Fengmian to escape. However, this opportunity would not be easy to wait for. Chu Fengmian was not anxious. He sat quietly in the origin whale emperor's stomach. In front of him, Chu Fengmian took out countless jade bottles from his spatial ring and opened them all. Beside Chu Fengmian, besides the demonic will that affected one's mind, there was also the pure medicinal fragrance. Chu Fengmian had plundered a large number of divine elixir pills from the palace of the sacrificial lake. These divine elixir pills were extremely useful for Chu Fengmian's improvement, especially those with body-refining effects. They could help Chu Fengmian refine his immortal true body. Chu Fengmian had originally planned to leave the Songhai Star region and find a safe place to slowly refine these divine elixir pills. However, the Origin Whale Emperor's stomach was actually a safe place. Other than the devouring demonic will, there was nothing else that could affect Chu Fengmian. The devouring demonic will, along with the heart of the evil blood demon emperor, had no effect on Chu Fengmian. The Origin Whale Emperor's stomach was now the best place for Chu Fengmian to cultivate. Chu Fengmian was waiting for the right time to refine these divine elixir pills. Chu Fengmian took out a bottle of divine elixir pills. It was the ancient divine elixir pills used for body refining genuine divine elixir pills. There were more than a dozen genuine divine elixir pills in the jade bottle. Chu Fengmian opened the jade bottle and immediately activated the sky-devouring secret technique to refine all the genuine divine elixir pills. The genuine divine elixir pills were instantly crushed by the sky-devouring secret technique and turned into countless pure medicinal efficacies. They poured into the immortal crystals and were devoured by the immortal crystals. In a few minutes, the medicinal efficacies of the genuine divine elixir pills were completely devoured. The power of the immortal crystals only increased by 1 point. The 129,600 immortal crystals in Chu Fengmian's body had undergone many transformations. The more power they contained, the more divine elixir pills they needed to increase their power. In a chapter 2006, more than a dozen genuine saint pills were just a drop in the bucket for Chu Fengmian. However, Chu Fengmian wasn't in a hurry. He now had a total of 10,000 saint pills. Just the saint pills of the body, refining Tao, numbered more than 1,000. He refined and swallowed them bit by bit to upgrade his immortal true body. Although Chu Fengmian's strength couldn't match Reverence Ocean Emperor's, it was the power of his immortal true body that allowed him to escape from Reverence Ocean Emperor's pursuit time and time again. If he could transform the remaining 60% of his immortal crystals, Chu Fengmian would be able to escape unscathed even if he couldn't defeat Reverence Ocean Emperor. As the Saint Elixir pills were devoured and refined, Chu Fengmian's immortal true body and 129,600 immortal crystals were transforming little by little. Although the effects of these Saint Elixir pills weren't as direct as immortal stones, they were more effective in enhancing the immortal crystals. These body-refining path Saint Elixir pills were originally refined to refine the physical body. The power contained within them was integrated into the immortal crystals, causing the immortal crystals to transform one by one. Chu Fengmian couldn't determine the limits of his immortal true body, but he knew that his immortal true body was still far from a true expert's immortal true body. At least compared to the bronze heavenly demon's immortal true body, it was still many levels away. Chu Fengmian still needed to go through many transformations before he could push his immortal true body to great completion. The limit of the immortal true body was that he could fight an immortal emperor with his physical body. If Chu Fengmian could improve his immortal true body to such a level, he would become an unparalleled figure among countless immortal emperors when he stepped into the immortal emperor realm in the future. However, Chu Fengmian also knew that it was too early to think about this. His priority now was to wait for the right time to escape from the Yuan Whale Emperor's belly. Apart from waiting for the right time, the only thing Chu Fengmian could do was cultivate. 3 months passed quickly. Although Chu Fengmian had encountered countless fortuitous encounters after coming to the vast sea star field, he hadn't had the time to cultivate in seclusion and comprehend. For example, Chu Fengmian had never had the opportunity to comprehend the Sword Tao totem he had obtained in the Sea Sword sect. The 3 months of closed-door cultivation gave Chu Fengmian the opportunity to comprehend the Sword Tao totem. This sword principle totem was the second sword principle totem. It recorded a dazzling array of swordsmanship. Even Chu Fengmian couldn't comprehend all of them in a short time. Many of the swordsmanship recorded in the sword principle totem were extremely obscure and difficult to understand. Therefore, for some weaker warriors, they did not know the value of the sword principle totem at all. It was even more difficult for them to comprehend swordsmanship from it. Only experts above the celestial realm could truly understand the value of this sword principle totem. During the 3 months of seclusion, Chu Feng spent the first 2 months swallowing saint pellets to refine his immortal true body. The 60% immortal crystal that had yet to transform had become much stronger after 2 months of refinement. However, Chu Fengyan lacked immortal stones and immortal power, so he couldn't completely transform the 60% immortal crystal. However, Chu Fengyan had swallowed hundreds of saint pellets. Countless medicinal efficacies had accumulated in the immortal crystals. As long as Chu Fengyan obtained a batch of immortal stones, he could use immortal power to upgrade the immortal crystals. The medicinal efficacies hidden in the immortal crystals would also be released at the same time. Once they were upgraded, the immortal crystals would receive incomparably huge benefits, and their power would increase crazily. Without immortal stones, the power of the immortal crystal had reached its peak. Therefore, Chu Fengyan stopped refining the immortal crystal. In the remaining month, Chu Fengyan wholeheartedly immersed himself in comprehending the Sword Tao Totem. The ancient book of Sword Principle had condensed in front of Chu Fengyan. Chu Fengyan comprehended the swordsmanship in the Sword Principle Totem bit by bit. In the ancient book of Sword Principle, the pages that recorded the brand new swordsmanship also condensed page by page. In 1 month, Chu Fengyan had comprehended as many as 900 swordsmanship from the Sword Principle Totem. This number was simply enough to establish a new sword sect. Even an upper sword sect might not have so many swordsmanship. In particular, the swordsmanship recorded in the Sword Principle Totem was different from the swordsmanship that had been simplified countless times in the future. It was the most ancient swordsmanship. Although they were obscure and difficult to understand and difficult to cultivate, they all contained shocking power. If several of the swordsmanship were combined and activated together, the power that erupted would not be inferior to the power of an immortal technique. However, what Chu Fengyan valued was not the power of these swordsmanship, but the comprehension of the sword principle in these swordsmanship. The swordsmanship was integrated into the 9 regions sword principle by Chu Fengyan. The power of the ancient book of sword principle became more and more tyrannical. At the same time, Chu Fengyan's power was also increasing crazily. Chu Fengyan's strength was closely related to the ancient book of sword principle. The more swordsmanship integrated into the ancient book of sword principle, the more Chu Fengyan's strength would similarly increase. A total of 900 swordsmanship had been integrated into the ancient book of sword principle. Chu Fengyan's realm had also officially stepped into the peak of the half-step celestial realm. Chu Fengyan had broken through to the half-step celestial realm only 3 months ago. Now, after another 3 months, Chu Fengyan's realm had reached the peak of the half-step celestial realm. If the news of such a fast speed of improvement spread out, it was afraid that it would cause a storm. Even the most heaven-defying geniuses in history had not improved their realm so fast. However, Chu Fengyan also knew that his realm had improved so fast in order to obtain the Sword Principle Totem. Any Sword Principle Totem, if obtained by a sword cultivator, would be an absolute treasure, enough to make the sword cultivator become a sword cultivator of a generation. Now, Chu Fengyan had a total of 4 Sword Principle Totem in his hands. It should be known that a Sword Principle Totem could be used as the foundation to establish a sect and establish a force like the Sea Sword sect. Chu Fengyan had obtained a total of 4 Sword Principle Totem and even used them to create the 9 regions swordsmanship. That was why Chu Fengyan's realm had improved so fast. Without the Sword Principle Totem, Chu Fengyan's strength could not have improved so fast. In this Sword Principle Totem, there were 900 swordsmanship recorded. None of them were hidden, and Chu Fengyan had comprehended them all. However, Chu Fengyan knew that these 900 swordsmanship were not what he wanted the most. There was still an incomplete swordsmanship hidden in this Sword Principle Totem. End of chapter. Chapter 2007. Although the Sword Principle Totem contained a total of 900 powerful ancient swordsmanship, the Sword Principle Totem was still very powerful. The Sea Sword sect's swordsmanship was created by combining the 900 ancient swordsmanship. However, Chu Fengmian knew that the 900 ancient swordsmanship could not be compared with the incomplete swordsmanship hidden in the sword principle totem. The incomplete swordsmanship was a swordsmanship that pointed to the origin of sword principle. The reason why Chu Fengmian's swordsmanship in this life could improve by leaps and bounds, far surpassing that of his previous life, was because of the incomplete swordsmanship that he comprehended from the sword principle totem. With the help of the incomplete swordsmanship, Chu Fengmian truly touched the origin of sword principle. A part of the incomplete swordsmanship was hidden in each sword principle totem. The incomplete swordsmanship was hidden so deeply that even many sword principle experts could not detect it. Chu Fengmian discovered it for the first time by accident. Later, Chu Fengmian deliberately searched for it and found the secret that each sword principle totem contained a part of the incomplete swordsmanship. Oh! Chu Fengmian's mind moved, and a shocking sword essence condensed in his palm. Suddenly, Chu Fengmian's palm moved and fell. The shocking sword essence was injected into the sword principle totem by Chu Fengmian's palm. In an instant, a dazzling light appeared in the sword principle totem. Ancient characters emerged from the depths of the sword principle totem. The ancient characters formed a part of the incomplete swordsmanship. Chu Fengmian had already comprehended the second and third sword principle totem and combined the incomplete swordsmanship. This time, he found that the incomplete swordsmanship recorded in the second sword principle totem was similar to the incomplete swordsmanship recorded in the third and fourth sword principle totem. It was not the first time that Chu Fengmian had comprehended the incomplete swordsmanship. Now, he was very familiar with it. Soon, the incomplete swordsmanship was pieced together by Chu Fengmian. The moment the incomplete swordsmanship was pieced together, Chu Fengmian suddenly felt a shocking sword essence flash past. Although this sword intent flashed, Chu Fengmian sensed it in an instant because the tyrannical power of this sword intent made Chu Fengmian feel a kind of power. The origin of sword Dao. The sword intent that flashed through the incomplete swordsmanship contained the power of sword principle origin. Chu Fengmian's sword principle had already reached the peak of the sword god realm. His attainments in sword principle had surpassed those recorded in history. Since ancient times, only a few people had reached Chu Fengmian's level. The moment Chu Fengmian sensed the sword intent, he suddenly had a new understanding of his sword principle. It seemed that he wanted to go in a higher direction and attack the illusory sword principle origin. Chu Fengmian sensed the flashing sword intent. It seemed that Chu Fengmian had vaguely touched the next threshold. Chu Fengmian knew that this was the realm above the sword god realm, the threshold that was close to the sword principle origin. Once he crossed this threshold, Chu Fengmian would surpass countless sword principle experts in history and even surpass Chu Fengmian's master, the Lord of Sword Principle. However, it was extremely difficult to cross this threshold. It could even be said that it was something that was impossible to do. For example, the Lord of Sword Principle was an invincible, immortal emperor, but he had not crossed this threshold. His sword principle level had always been stuck at the peak of the sword god realm. Although he was sprinting towards the sword principle origin, he had not crossed this threshold. At most, he had gone further than Chu Fengmian on the road to the sword principle origin. It was the same for the famous number 1 sword emperor. The origin of sword principle was a realm that countless sword principle experts throughout history had never crossed. Even the first sword emperor, the Lord of Sword Principle, and other invincible figures were only attacking the threshold of the sword principle origin. They had gone further, but they had not really crossed this level. Chu Fengmian had comprehended the secrets of the sword principle totem. From the incomplete swordsmanship, Chu Fengmian had vaguely touched the threshold of the sword principle origin. It could be said that Chu Fengmian's hope of attacking the sword principle origin in the future was greater than that of the Lord of Sword Principle and the first sword emperor. However, Chu Fengmian was still unable to rely on the incomplete swordsmanship recorded in the 4 sword principle totems. The appearance of the sword intent had indeed allowed Chu Fengmian to touch the threshold of the sword principle origin. However, the sword principle origin was still an illusory existence for Chu Fengmian. Only when Chu Fengmian obtained more sword principle totems and completely pieced together the incomplete swordsmanship would he have a chance to really attack the sword principle origin. Although he had failed to attack the sword principle origin, Chu Fengmian was not sad. The benefits he had obtained from the sword principle totems were already great enough. The 900 ancient swordsmanship in the sword principle totems had been integrated into Chu Fengmian's 9 regions swordsmanship, allowing Chu Fengmian, who had just stepped into the half-step celestial realm, to reach the peak of the half-step celestial realm. The benefits were already great enough. As for the sword principle origin, Chu Fengmian was still unable to attack it. However, Chu Fengmian already knew the secrets of the sword principle totems. As long as Chu Fengmian could obtain more sword principle totems and piece together more of the incomplete swordsmanship, Chu Fengmian could attack the sword principle origin again and again. Chu Fengmian still remembered that there were several sword principle totems in the 9 regions Shang sword sect. As far as Chu Fengmian knew, there were 5 sword principle totems in Shang sword sect 10,000 years ago. One of them was won by Chu Fengmian during the 9 regions genius battle. Now there were at least 4 sword principle totems in Shang sword sect. As long as Chu Fengmian could obtain these 4 sword principle totems, even if he could not attack the sword principle origin, his 9 regions swordsmanship and his strength would advance by leaps and bounds. Chu Fengmian had not fought against the 7 major sects because he was weak. Moreover, Chu Fengmian was also worried that there were celestial realm experts in the 7 major sects, so he did not want to alert them. However, after coming to the Shanghai Star Zone this time, Chu Fengmian had obtained countless opportunities. His current strength was enough to fight immortals. He could even kill immortals in the celestial realm. With such strength, Chu Fengmian already had the capital to test the 7 major sections. The hatred of killing his master was irreconcilable. Even now, Chu Fengmian knew that it was not the 7 major sects who killed the master of sword principle, but the legendary Tianjiu regions. However, the fall of sword principle sect was also related to the 7 major sections. Set a small goal first, such as 1 second to remember. Book Guest House Mobile Edition. Chapter 2008. Back then, the 7 major sects had joined forces to invade the Sword Dao sect. Many of Chu Fengmian's senior brothers and sisters had died under the pursuit of the 7 major sects. This hatred alone was enough for Chu Fengmian to destroy the 7 major sects. When Chu Fengmian returned to the 9 regions, it would be time for Chu Fengmian to take his revenge. The comprehension of the Sword Dao totem is over. Chu Fengmian glanced at the sword principle totem, then put into the empty ring and sealed it properly. Although Chu Fengmian had already comprehended all the swordsmanship in the sword principle totem and integrated it into the 9 region swordsmanship, there was no need for him to continue comprehending the sword principle totem. Chu Fengmian had a feeling that the Sword Dao totem was hiding an even deeper secret. Where did the Sword Dao totem come from? There were many different opinions in the ancient books, but there was no answer. Originally, Chu Fengmian thought that the Sword Dao totem might have been created by a Sword Dao grandmaster like the Sword Dao master. However, the more he comprehended the Sword Dao totem, the more this idea disappeared from his mind. The 900 ancient sword techniques were nothing to the master of the Sword Dao. With his strength as an immortal emperor, creating sword techniques was a piece of cake. However, Chu Fengmian couldn't figure out what kind of expert, an invincible giant, could create the incomplete swordsmanship in the Sword Dao totem. The incomplete sword technique pointed directly to the origin of Sword Dao. The expert who could create the incomplete sword technique was definitely an invincible figure who had mastered the origin of Sword Dao. However, there had never been such a person in history. It was simply impossible. Such an invincible figure, a Sword Dao master, would definitely be recorded in countless ancient books and passed down. It was impossible for there to be no trace of him. Therefore, Chu Fengmian suspected that there was an even greater secret hidden in the Sword Dao totem. Although Chu Fengmian had comprehended all the Sword Dao totems, they were still firmly in his hands. Boom! Just as Chu Fengmian was thinking, the Origin Whale Emperor's stomach suddenly spun. What's going on? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. The Origin Whale Emperor seemed to have been alerted by someone. 3 months later, someone had actually alerted the Origin Whale Emperor. Could it be that someone accidentally entered the center of the chaotic ocean and alerted the Origin Whale Emperor? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered. Just as he was about to take a closer look, a huge wave of energy swept across the Origin Whale Emperor's stomach. At the same time, Chu Fengmian could feel the anger of the Origin Whale Emperor. No, someone is fighting with the Origin Whale Emperor. Chu Fengmian had been in the belly of the Origin Whale Emperor for 3 months and had already gained some understanding of the internal world of the Origin Whale Emperor. Although it was impossible for Chu Fengmian to escape, he could still sense the Origin Whale Emperor's movements. As long as the Origin Whale Emperor made a move, it would appear in the inner world. Initially, when Chu Fengmian saw the ripples, he thought that he had accidentally entered the depths of the chaotic ocean and awakened the Origin Whale Emperor. Such things weren't rare. Although the chaotic ocean was extremely dangerous, it was full of mysteries that attracted many martialists and demon immortals to explore the chaotic ocean. However, Chu Fengmian suddenly realized that it wasn't because someone had accidentally entered the chaotic ocean. Instead, it was because a powerhouse had suddenly entered the chaotic ocean and exchanged blows with the Origin Whale Emperor. Chu Fengmian had been waiting for a powerhouse to exchange blows with the Origin Whale Emperor. This way, Chu Fengmian could take advantage of this opportunity to escape from the Origin Whale Emperor's internal world. However, to Chu Fengmian's disappointment, the collision of power only lasted for a moment before it disappeared. It seemed like the powerhouse who had exchanged blows with the Origin Whale Emperor had admitted that he was no match for the Origin Whale Emperor and fled immediately. The Origin Whale Emperor couldn't leave the chaotic ocean. As long as he escaped the chaotic ocean, he would be able to avoid being hunted down by the Origin Whale Emperor. Therefore, powerhouses like the Sacrificial Ocean Emperor might not be a match for the Origin Whale Emperor, but they could still escape unscathed. Who exactly is it that dares to have designs on the Origin Whale Emperor? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered as he pondered. The Origin Whale Emperor was the overlord of the chaotic ocean. No one in the entire vast sea star system was a match for him. Now, that someone had taken a risk to make a move on the Origin Whale Emperor, there had to be some ulterior motive. However, Chu Fengmian couldn't figure out what this ulterior motive was. Chu Fengmian was currently in the Origin Whale Emperor's stomach. Although he could sense that someone had exchanged blows with the Origin Whale Emperor, Chu Fengmian didn't know who it was. Therefore, he could only speculate. After that person escaped, the Origin Whale Emperor also returned to the deepest part of the ocean, and remained silent. However, Chu Fengmian's expression changed all of a sudden. He suddenly sensed that the demonic intent in the Origin Whale Emperor's stomach was flowing away. Chu Fengmian searched carefully. After spending a few hours, he finally discovered that there was a crack in the internal world of the Origin Whale Emperor's stomach. The crack was only the size of a thumb, making it almost impossible to detect. However, it was precisely through this crack that streams of demonic will float out. Although it wasn't much, Chu Fengmian had stayed in the Origin Whale Emperor's stomach for 3 months. Therefore, he was very familiar with the situation inside. Therefore, Chu Fengmian was sensitive enough to detect the slight changes in the demonic intent. Someone actually injured the Origin Whale Emperor? Chu Fengmian's eyes were filled with disbelief at the sight of the crack. The internal world of the Origin Whale Emperor was equivalent to a part of his body. As long as the Origin Whale Emperor was injured, there would be a crack in the internal world. Now that this crack had appeared, it meant that the Origin Whale Emperor was injured. The Origin Whale Emperor had actually been injured in the previous exchange, which had caused a crack to appear in his internal world. Can I leave through this crack? Chu Fengmian's eyes lit up. Although he didn't know who had attacked the Origin Whale Emperor and injured him, there was a crack in the internal world of the Origin Whale Emperor. However, an opening had appeared in the Origin Whale Emperor's internal world. This meant that Chu Fengmian had hope of leaving the Origin Whale Emperor's belly. After being trapped for 3 months, Chu Fengmian finally saw a glimmer of hope. End of chapter. Chapter 2009. Without the slightest hesitation, Chu Fengmian urged his spiritual energy and transformed his body into a beam of light. He suddenly rushed towards a crack in the Origin Whale Emperor's internal world. The beam of light compressed Chu Fengmian's body to the smallest possible size. He wanted to use the crack to escape from the Origin Whale Emperor's internal world. However, when Chu Fengmian's streak of light approached the crack, he sensed that his streak of light had been blocked by a force. Although a crack had appeared in the Origin Whale Emperor's internal world, this crack was too small. It simply couldn't accommodate Chu Fengmian's body and allow him to escape. Chu Fengmian tried several times in a row, but to no avail. It still doesn't work. After several attempts, Chu Fengmian also understood that this small crack was not enough for Chu Fengmian to escape from the internal world of the Yuan Whale Emperor. He had to widen the crack. However, Chu Fengmian did not dare to act rashly. He was now trapped in the Origin Whale Emperor's internal world. In the Origin Whale Emperor's opinion, Chu Fengmian was already a dead man. That was why it allowed Chu Fengmian to cultivate inside. However, if Chu Fengmian were to cause a commotion and be noticed by the Origin Whale Emperor, Chu Fengmian would be the first to be killed by the Origin Whale Emperor. The Origin Whale Emperor was an immortal marquis in the profound heaven realm. Its strength was extremely terrifying and could easily kill Chu Fengmian with a single blow. Chu Fengmian had to be extremely cautious. Although my body can't pass through, my spiritual consciousness shouldn't be a problem. Chu Fengmian observed the crack. Although the crack was so narrow that Chu Fengmian's physical body couldn't pass through, since it could allow the demonic will to flow out, Chu Fengmian's spiritual consciousness should also be able to leave. Although Chu Fengmian couldn't escape from the Yuan Whale Emperor's stomach through this crack, he could still use his spiritual awareness to observe what was going on and who was dealing with the Yuan Whale Emperor. Then, Chu Fengmian would be able to find an opportunity to escape. Chu Fengmian's mind stirred. He urged his spiritual sense to approach the crack. When this streak of spiritual awareness approached the crack, it didn't suffer great repulsion like when Chu Fengmian's body approached it. This made Chu Fengmian happy. He stealthily sent a wisp of his spiritual sense through the crack and flew out. After leaving the inner world, Chu Fengmian's spiritual consciousness returned to the chaotic ocean. From afar, it seemed like the Origin Whale Emperor was still in a deep slumber in the center of the chaotic ocean. Behind the Origin Whale Emperor, there was a long spear protruding from its back. The spear pierced the Origin Whale Emperor's back and seemed to have pierced deeply into his flesh. Chu Fengmian could tell that it was this spear that had pierced the Origin Whale Emperor's back that had created a crack in his internal world, allowing Chu Fengmian's spiritual consciousness to escape. This spear is an immortal weapon. Chu Fengmian observed the long spear. There was billowing demonic wool emanating from the long spear. The demonic will seemed to have penetrated into the Yuan Whale Emperor's body and was consuming his strength. Being able to penetrate the Origin Whale Emperor's body meant that the grade of this immortal weapon was definitely not low. In fact, it was even higher than the East Forest Ocean Monarch's trident. What surprised Chu Fengmian was the demonic intent emanating from the spear. This immortal weapon of the demonic Tao was definitely a supreme treasure of a demonic Tao expert. The person who had just fought the Origin Whale Emperor was actually a demonic Tao expert. Chu Fengmian had long heard that there were many demonic Tao experts in the chaotic ocean. There were even some demonic Tao giants and terrifying demons in the celestial realm. However, this was just a rumor. Chu Fengmian had never seen it with his own eyes. Now that he saw this spear, he knew that the rumor was true. However, why would a demonic Tao expert attack the Origin Whale Emperor at this time? Chu Fengmian could tell that this spear had been deliberately left on the Origin Whale Emperor's back by the demonic Tao expert in order to continuously consume the Origin Whale Emperor's energy. This was obviously a plan for him to deal with the Origin Whale Emperor next time. This chaotic ocean is indeed hiding a shocking secret. However, I don't need to get involved. Since someone wants to deal with the Origin Whale Emperor, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me. Chu Fengmian thought to himself. He was now trapped in the Origin Whale Emperor's internal world. Only when the Origin Whale Emperor was engaged in a battle or was injured could Chu Fengmian find an opportunity to escape from the Origin Whale Emperor's internal world. It was definitely a good thing for Chu Fengmian that someone wanted to deal with the Origin Whale Emperor. However, Chu Fengmian was also very clear that these demonic Dao giants were all existences that killed without batting an eyelid. If they wanted to deal with the Origin Whale Emperor, they would definitely do something earth-shattering. If they discovered Chu Fengmian's existence, it was very likely that he would be killed by them. Therefore, Chu Fengmian couldn't let his guard down. He had to find an opportunity to escape from the battle between the Origin Whale Emperor and the demonic Dao experts. Someone is coming. At this moment, Chu Fengmian suddenly felt a wave of spiritual power. This wave of spiritual power was transmitted from the edge of the chaotic ocean. It seemed like a ray of light had descended to the edge of the chaotic ocean. Following the awakening of the Origin Whale Emperor, many martial artists and demonic Dao immortals that were hiding in the chaotic ocean had either left the chaotic ocean or gone into hiding. It was extremely rare to see a ray of light descending in such a swaggering manner. Especially in this wave of spiritual power, Chu Fengmian felt a faint immortal power. Although it wasn't pure immortal power, it was definitely a power that only martial artists and demonic Dao immortals who had undergone the sky human tribulation could possess. There was actually a sky human realm expert who had come to the edge of the chaotic ocean. Let's go and take a look. Chu Fengmian's eyes were solemn as he quietly concealed his figure. This figure was condensed from his spiritual consciousness and concealed by a secret technique. Even a sky human realm expert wouldn't be able to discover Chu Fengmian's trace in a short period of time. Moreover, Chu Fengmian's current body was hidden in the Origin Whale Emperor's stomach. Even if his spiritual consciousness was discovered, as long as he self-destructed his spiritual consciousness, no one would be able to detect Chu Fengmian's trace. In such a safe situation, Chu Fengmian wanted to go and take a look. He wanted to know who was targeting the Origin Whale Emperor. Set a small goal first, such as 1 second to remember. Book Guesthouse mobile version. Chapter 2010. Chu Fengmian's spiritual consciousness quietly approached. Although the spiritual consciousness of a martial artist demon god was limited in range, now that Chu Fengmian had stepped into the half-step celestial realm, his spiritual consciousness had also been completely upgraded. Originally, Chu Fengmian had lived 2 lives, so his spiritual consciousness was ridiculously strong, far surpassing martial artists and demon gods of the same realm. Now, Chu Fengmian's spiritual master was even stronger than the average celestial realm elite. As long as it was in the chaotic ocean, Chu Fengmian's spiritual consciousness could explore. This wave of spiritual energy came from the edge of the chaotic ocean. Chu Fengmian approached, and before he even got close, he could feel several powerful auras. To be able to make Chu Fengmian feel powerful, they were at least celestial realm elites. 10. A total of 10 celestial realm elites? How is this possible? 2 of them have transcended mortality and become immortals, and have condensed immortal power? How can there be so many elites here? The closer Chu Fengmian got, the more he could feel the terrifying auras. These celestial realm elites did not hide their strength, so Chu Fengmian could feel it at a glance. At the edge of the chaotic ocean, there were a total of 10 celestial realm elites gathered. 2 of them had transcended mortality and condensed immortal power, and stepped into the immortal general realm. It could be said that they were not inferior to the worshipping Ocean Emperor. Chu Fengmian did not expect that there was a group of such powerful people hidden in the Songhai Star Zone. Let's go and take a look. Chu Fengmian originally thought that the ones who had dealt with the Yuanjing Emperor were the Demon Dao elites hidden in the chaotic ocean. But now, a total of 10 celestial realm elites had appeared, completely destroying Chu Fengmian's guess. There were definitely not that many Demon Dao elites hidden in the chaotic ocean. One must know that these Demon Dao elites hid in the chaotic ocean because of the boundless demonic will in the chaotic ocean, which was beneficial to their cultivation. The second reason was that these Demon Dao elites were not a match for the Sea Sacrifice sect, so they had been hiding in the chaotic ocean. If these demonic cultivators had such terrifying strength, they would have destroyed the Seashore sect long ago and taken control of the Songhai Star region. The last time Chu Fengyan had barged into the sacrificial lake, he hadn't forced all of the sea sacrifice sex experts out, but he had at least forced most of them out. If there were so many devil Tao experts hidden in the chaotic ocean, they would have been able to sweep through the sea sacrifice sect long ago. They wouldn't have been hiding in the chaotic ocean. Although the demonic Tao powerhouses could escape the pursuit of the seashore sect by hiding in the chaotic ocean, there was still the threat of the Origin Whale Emperor. The Origin Whale Emperor had been corroded by the demonic will and had sunk into madness. Anyone who provoked him would be killed by the Origin Whale Emperor. The number of demonic experts hidden in the chaotic ocean who had died at the hands of the Origin Whale Emperor was not a small number. Therefore, when Chu Fengyan sensed that there were 10 Celestial Realm experts, he felt that these people were definitely not just the demonic Tao experts of the chaotic ocean. Chu Fengyan's spiritual awareness crept closer. He immediately saw many figures standing in the middle of the chaotic ocean. Each of the figures had a different power. 5 of them were standing on the back of an enormous primary whale. Powerful demonic intents were being emitted from their bodies. These 5 people were all demonic Tao experts. They were all hidden demonic Tao giants in the chaotic ocean. It was no wonder that there were rumors that there were many devil Tao powerhouses hidden in the chaotic ocean. These 5 Celestial Realm experts were also an extremely tyrannical force. Although they weren't as strong as the Seashore sect, they were still more tyrannical than the other 2 major forces of the Songhai Star region, the North Sea Temple and the Sea Sword sect. Among the 5 devil Tao powerhouses, the leader was a white-haired old man. He looked very ordinary, no different from an ordinary old man. If he was placed in a crowd, it would be difficult for people to notice him. However, the demonic will exuding from his body made Chu Fengyan shudder. This person's power wasn't inferior to the reverent Ocean Emperor's. Chu Fengyan sensed that this white-haired old man was one of the 2 immortal generals. In addition to these 5 devil Tao powerhouses, the other few people had different auras. 2 of the figures weren't human, but oceanic race experts. One of the oceanic race experts contained a shocking sword will. It was the Seaside Sword Ocean Emperor that Chu Fengyan had seen before. The Seaside Sword sect's old ancestor, the Seaside Sword Ocean Emperor, was also among the 10 people. The other oceanic race expert's strength was very close to the Seaside Sword Ocean Emperor's. His aura was somewhat familiar to Chu Fengyan. It was the aura of the North Sea Temple's cultivation technique. When Chu Fengyan had just arrived in the Songhai Star region, he had encountered a group of North Sea Temple disciples who wanted to snatch Chu Fengyan's immemorial centipede. In the end, they were all killed by Chu Fengyan alone. The aura of the other oceanic race expert was that of the North Sea Temple's cultivation technique. This should be the North Sea Temple's old ancestor, the Seaside Emperor. Chu Fengyan recalled this in his mind and roughly guessed the identity of this oceanic race expert. In terms of strength, the North Sea Temple and the Seaside Sword sect were on par. Since this person's strength was very close to the Seaside Sword Ocean Emperor, he was most likely the North Sea Temple's old ancestor, the Seaside Emperor. As for the other 3 people, Chu Fengyan couldn't tell their origins for a moment. The remaining 3 people were all young people who looked to be in their 20s. Although the age of a martial artist couldn't be judged by their appearance, Chu Fengyan felt that the real age of these 3 people was around 100 years old. A Celestial Realm expert who was around 100 years old, no matter which force he was in, was an absolute genius. The young man leading the group gave off a unique aura. Although he was young, he gave off the feeling that he was in control of everything and the world was within his grasp. His gaze was above all things in the world. Although he wasn't arrogant, he revealed the confidence that he had everything under his control. Even if this person hid his aura, it was still possible to feel that he was extraordinary. Moreover, the power exuded from this young man was pure immortal power and not spiritual power. Among the 10 people, there were a total of 2 immortal generals. One of them was the leader of the demonic path, and the other was this young man. In a chapter 2011, this young man was only 100 years old. Not only had he ascended to immortality and entered the celestial realm, but he had also entered the last realm of the celestial realm, the immortal general realm. Chu Fengmian was shocked to see this young man. Chu Fengmian had seen a lot of big shots and geniuses, but he had never seen such a monstrous genius like this young man. To enter the immortal general realm at the age of 100 was simply unbelievable. To be able to pass the celestial tribulation at the age of 100 and enter the celestial realm and become an immortal was already a great achievement. It was enough to be recorded in ancient books and passed down for generations. The young man in front of him had reached the peak of the celestial realm and entered the immortal general realm at the age of 100. Anyone who saw this would be shocked. This person is definitely not a martial artist from the Shanghai Star region. Chu Fengmian thought that the young man in front of him was definitely not a warrior from the Shanghai Star region. After all, this person had already entered the immortal general realm at such a young age. If he was a warrior from the Shanghai Star region, he would have been famous already. It was impossible for him to be unknown. The rise of a monstrous genius was not something that could be achieved by seclusion. It was better to fight a bloody battle than to cultivate for thousands of years. Every expert had gone through many life and death battles to achieve their current strength. Therefore, there was no such thing as a genius expert who had suddenly appeared. For example, the other immortal general, the white-haired old man on the side of the demon path experts. Although he was also an immortal general expert, Chu Fengmian could see that he was definitely a super antique from the same era as the ocean worship emperor. He must have lived for tens of thousands of years. His rise was too long ago, so it was normal that there were very few records of him in the Shanghai Star region. The ocean worship sect was the reason why the name of the ocean worship emperor could be passed down. Without the ocean worship sect, the martial artists and demon gods of the Shanghai Star region would not know of such a person. This young man was not more than 100 years old. He was definitely not a hidden antique. The only explanation was that this young man was not a martial artist from the Shanghai Star region, but came from another star region like Chu Fengmian. Young Master Yin, we have indeed invited the three of you here to deal with the Yuan Whale Emperor. However, don't you think your appetite is a little too big? You want 70% of the loot with just the three of you? While Chu Fengmian was still observing these people, a voice suddenly sounded. It was a celestial realm powerhouse with a ferocious face from the Devil Path. He was looking at the young celestial general who had addressed him as Young Master Yin. Young Master Yin? This name was obviously a code name. Chu Fengmian had never heard of it before. However, from the words of the Demon Dao expert, Chu Fengmian could confirm that these people were indeed here to deal with the Black Whale Emperor. That was why they had gathered at the edge of the chaotic ocean. However, Chu Fengmian still didn't know why they were attacking the Origin Whale Emperor. Chu Fengmian didn't make any sound and just listened quietly. The Yuan Whale Emperor has been guarding the immemorial treasure of the Black Whale all this while. The treasures in the treasure are endless. Don't you think it's a little too much to ask for 70% of the loot with the 10 of us joining forces and only 3 of you from the Immortal Jade sect? Another celestial realm powerhouse, the old ancestor of the Seaward sect, the overlooking Sword Ocean Sovereign, also spoke. In my opinion, the 10 of us should divide the immemorial treasure of the Black Whale equally. What do you think? The old ancestor of the North Sea Palace, the Northern Mountain Ocean Sovereign, also spoke. That's right. There are 10 of us in total. It's just right to divide the immemorial treasure equally. Another expert from the Devil Path said. His words were in agreement with the Northern Mountain Ocean Sovereign's words. Divide equally? What a joke. Without our help. Do you think you can deal with the Yuan Whale Emperor with just a few of you? The Yuan Whale Emperor is an immemorial rare beast that has already stepped into the immortal Marquis realm. One of the 3 young men suddenly spoke. His tone was filled with boundless arrogance as he glanced at the crowd and sneered. The few of you are just taking advantage of a situation. Giving you 30% of the loot is already extremely benevolent. What's wrong? Are you still not satisfied? The young man spoke and glanced at the crowd. His tone was filled with disdain. This sentence caused the other celestial realm experts' expressions to change abruptly. Each and every one of their faces turned extremely ugly. They were all celestial realm powerhouses, great figures in the vast sea star field. Especially the overlooking Sword Ocean Sovereign, the Northern Mountain Ocean Sovereign, and the others. They were the ancestors of their respective sections. Their status was extraordinary. Everyone who saw them was extremely respectful. When had they ever been looked down upon like this? Although it's true that we were able to kill the Yuan Whale Emperor with your help, don't forget that the Immortal Jade Sect isn't the only one who wants the Black Whale Emperor's treasure. The Lian Heaven and the Realm Devil Heaven have many people who are interested in the Yuan Whale Emperor as well. The Immortal Jade Sect isn't the only one that we have to cooperate with. Before the Overlooking Sword Ocean Sovereign and the Northern Mountain Ocean Sovereign could speak, the Demonic Path Powerhouse couldn't help but speak with a cold smile. The Black Whale Emperor's treasure is in our vast sea star field after all. His tone was filled with a hint of threat, no longer as pleasant as before. Presumptuous. The vast sea star field is nothing. It's just a mere second-grade star field. If it were the people from the Realm Devil Heaven or Lian Heaven, they would have some qualifications to bargain with us. A mere second-grade star field is not even worth mentioning in front of our Immortal Jade Sect. How dare you negotiate with us like an ant? The eyes of a young man who had spoken earlier from the Immortal Jade Sect's group of 3 flickered with killing intent. It's because the Black Whale Emperor's treasure is in the vast sea star field that we gave you 30% of the loot. This is already giving you face. If you don't know what's good for you, you won't even get 30% of the loot. The young man spoke with an extremely arrogant tone. He didn't take the threat in the Demonic Path Powerhouse's words seriously at all. Hearing this, the 7 sky realm powerhouses from the vast sea star field revealed a hint of anger in their eyes. However, every time they heard the words Immortal Jade Sect, the anger in their eyes would dissipate. They were extremely afraid of the Immortal Jade Sect. Immortal Jade Sect? What kind of force is this? Why are these people so afraid of it? Chu Fengmian could also see that although the 7 sky realm powerhouses from the vast sea star field were extremely angry at the 3 of them, they didn't dare to make a move because they were afraid of the Immortal Jade Sect. Set a small goal first, such as 1 second to remember. Book Guest House Mobile Edition. Chapter 2012. This force called Immortal Jade Sect was able to make Celestial Realm experts extremely wary and even fearful. This was especially true for the 3 people from the Immortal Jade Sect. Their tone was extremely arrogant. When they spoke, they mentioned the Lian Heaven and the Realm Devil Heaven. It was as if they didn't care about the 2 Saint Domains at all and were on equal footing with them. Such arrogance. Could it be that Immortal Jade Sect is a force from Jihua Heaven? Chu Fengmian's eyes flickered as he pondered. The name of the 3 sacred realms was known to everyone. The only force that could be on equal footing with Lian Heaven and Realm Demon Heaven was Jihua Heaven, one of the 3 sacred realms. Although the 4th sacred realm, Tianjiu Domain, existed, Tianjiu Domain had long disappeared. If Tianjiu Domain reappeared, it would be enough to shake the world. It couldn't be unknown. Therefore, Chu Fengmian guessed that the sect of these 3 young men, Immortal Jade Sect, was most likely a force from Jihua Heaven. The 3 of them came from sacred realms, which was why they had such heaven-defying aptitude. In this way, it could be explained why they were unknown. If the 3 of them were martial artists in a place like the Shanghai Star Zone, they would already be famous. However, if they were martial artists from sacred realms, their aptitude wasn't too dazzling. There were countless geniuses in the 3 sacred realms. These 3 people could only be considered as one of the countless geniuses. Although they weren't unknown, they hadn't reached the point where they could shake the world. Therefore, it was extremely normal that no one had heard of their names. Chu Fengmian also guessed that these 3 people might be from sacred realms. Chu Fengmian had met a few martial artists from Jihua Heaven when he was in the 9 regions. They were young and had already reached half-step celestial realm. They were absolute geniuses. These 3 people were even more talented than the martial artists from Jihua Heaven that Chu Fengmian had met in the 9 regions. People from Jihua Heaven are actually here for the Xianjing secret treasure. The Yuanjing Emperor has been guarding the Xianjing secret treasure. At the same time, from their conversation, Chu Fengmian also understood the purpose of these people to deal with the Yuanjing Emperor. the Xianjing secret treasure. The dark whale, one of the innate divine beasts, was the ancestor of thousands of oceanic species. Chu Fengmian didn't even dare to imagine how many treasures were left behind by the mysterious whale. Xiantian divine beasts were absolute overlords in that ancient era. If they wanted to plunder and build a secret trove, there would be more treasures than any ancient sect's treasure trove. The Yuan whale emperor had never left the chaotic sea. Chu Fengmian had guessed that he was guarding something, but Chu Fengmian would never have guessed that he was guarding the Xianjing hidden treasure. This time around, there were so many experts gathered here. Obviously, the black whale hidden treasure was not just a rumor, it really existed. The Origin Whale Emperor had been guarding the black whale hidden treasure for a long time. As such, they had to kill the Origin Whale Emperor before they could truly obtain the black whale hidden treasure. Now, these people were arguing endlessly. They were arguing about how to divide the spoils after obtaining the Xianjing hidden treasure. One should know that the treasures in the Xianjing hidden treasure were comparable to the Buddhist temples of the 9 domains. Even 10% of the treasures would be priceless. This time, the 3 people from the Immortal Jade sect were extremely ambitious. They wanted 70% of the spoils in one go. Of course, the Demon Dao, the Overlooking Sword Ocean Emperor, and the Northern Mountain Ocean Emperor were unwilling to see such a distribution. Demon Slayer Emperor, what do you think? Just as the argument was going on, a voice suddenly sounded. This voice was incomparably calm, but there was a sense of truth in it. It was just a casual sentence, but it was irrefutable. When they heard those words, the voices of the 2 people from the Immortal Jade sect and the experts from the Demonic Dao, who were arguing with each other, came to a sudden stop. No one dared to open their mouths. Numerous gazes were cast toward the white-haired old man leading the Demonic Dao group. The name Demon Slayer Emperor came from this white-haired old man. As an expert of the Demon Dao, it was indeed strange for him to have the name Demon Slayer. However, Chu Fengmian had killed Lan Ming and the others and stolen their memories. He still remembered many experts in the history of the Shanghai star field. He also knew the origin of the name Demon Slayer Emperor. This Demon Slayer Emperor was once a super genius of the human race in the Shanghai star field tens of thousands of years ago. It was said that he had passed the heavenly tribulation and reached the immortal realm when he was 100 years old. In that era, Demon Slayer Emperor was one of the most dazzling geniuses. He and the Overlooking Sea Emperor were absolute overlords of that era. They were the 2 most dazzling geniuses. Demon Slayer Emperor used to hate evil and the Demon Dao. He once killed his way into the chaotic ocean alone for 7 days and 7 nights. No one knew how many experts of the Demon Dao he had killed. However, he was also bathed in demonic blood. One day, he suddenly turned demonic and escaped into the chaotic ocean, becoming an expert of the Demon Dao in the chaotic ocean. A peerless expert suddenly turning into a demon. This kind of change wasn't rare in history. The most famous one was the evil demon Emperor Shuexia, the supreme Buddha of the Pure Land Buddhist sect, the pinnacle existence of the Buddhism Tao. The supreme Buddha of the Pure Land Buddhist sect was possessed by the devil and became the famous blood evil demon emperor. Demon Slayer Emperor was the same. He was invaded by the Demon Dao and escaped into the Demon Dao. It's this old man. It's said that Demon Slayer Emperor has disappeared for tens of thousands of years. So he's been hiding in the chaotic ocean all this time and still has such shocking strength. According to the rumors in the Shanghai star field, Demon Slayer Emperor had fallen long ago. Now, it seemed like Demon Slayer Emperor was still alive and had even entered the immortal general realm. His strength was boundless. Young Master Yin spoke directly to Demon Slayer Emperor, ignoring everyone else. In his eyes, it seemed like the sword Overlooking Sea Emperor, the Northern Mountain Ocean Emperor, and the others were not worthy of talking to him. The only one who could talk to him was Demon Slayer Emperor. 70% is indeed too much. Let's split it 60 to 40. You get 60% and I get 40%. How about that? The Demon Slayer Emperor opened his eyes and looked at young Master Yin. His tone was extremely calm. No matter how one looked at him, the Demon Slayer Emperor looked like an ordinary old man. He definitely didn't look like a peerless demon emperor. However, Chu Fengmian knew that there was a story about Demon Slayer Emperor in the history of the Shanghai Star Field. On the first day that Demon Slayer Emperor turned demonic, he slaughtered dozens of sects in the Shanghai Star Field. Almost all the living beings in the sea were killed by Demon Slayer Emperor alone. Genius memorized this address in 1 second. Mobile version of reading website. M. Chapter 2013. The Demon Slayer Emperor was definitely not as benevolent as he looked. As he spoke, he looked at young Master Yin. Under his gaze, young Master Yin's expression changed slightly. He only spoke after a while. All right, we'll split it 60-40 then. Young Master Yan's words represented the attitude of the Immortal Jade sect. They agreed to the Demon Slayer Emperor's proposal. Demon Slayer Emperor, hearing this, the Northern Mountain Ocean Emperor and Linjian Ocean Emperor frowned and looked at the Demon Slayer Emperor. They seemed to want to say something, but when they saw the ferocious look in the Demon Slayer Emperor's eyes, they swallowed their words. Since there are no objections, let's plan how to deal with the Yuan Whale Emperor. The Demon Slayer Emperor said slowly. A staff appeared in his hand. This staff seemed to be made from the bones of a person's arm. There were complicated runes on it. These runes were actually immortal runes. This staff was refined from the arm of an immortal warrior. It was a staff that was refined from the arm of an immortal warrior. Anyone who saw would shiver in fear. The Immortal Destroyer Staff. The pupils of the Northern Mountain Ocean Emperor and the others shrunk when they saw the scroll. There was a hint of fear in their eyes. The Yuan Whale Emperor has been injured by my demonic weapon. His strength is less than half of his peak. With the 10 of us working together, it's more than enough to deal with the Yuan Whale Emperor. Let's kill him first. Then we'll enter the Xinjing secret treasure and split the treasures. The Demon Slayer Emperor said as he looked at young Master Yin. What do you think, young Master Yin? In a vast sea star field, the Demon Dao experts all respected the Demon Slayer Emperor. The other Demon Dao experts naturally wouldn't disagree with the Demon Slayer Emperor. Although the Northern Mountain Ocean Emperor and Linjian Ocean Emperor didn't belong to the Demon Dao, their strength was far from the Demon Slayer Emperor's. They didn't dare to go against the Demon Slayer Emperor. The only person they needed to ask was young Master Yin. Let's do it. Young Master Yin nodded without batting an eyelid. There was no change in his expression. Seeing that young Master Yin had agreed, the Demon Slayer Emperor stepped forward and said, "Let's not delay. There's no time to lose. Let's go and kill Yuan Jing Emperor now." As the Demon Slayer Emperor spoke, he took the lead and flew towards the chaotic ocean. Young Master Yin and the others followed behind. 10 rays of light flew towards the center of the chaotic ocean. The war is about to begin. Chu Fengmian's heart skipped a beat. The moment he saw the Demon Slayer Emperor flying over, Chu Fengmian hurriedly dispersed his spiritual consciousness to prevent the Demon Slayer Emperor from discovering him. The Black Whale Secret Treasure. If I can get it, the treasures inside would be enough for me to break through to the celestial being stage. Inside the Yuan Whale Emperor's stomach, Chu Fengmian sat there, carefully thinking about what he had just seen and heard. The most important thing was the Dark Whale hidden treasure. The Demon Slayer Emperor, young Master Yin, and the others had gathered so many experts for the legendary Black Whale hidden treasure. They were going against the Origin Whale Emperor because he was the guardian of the Black Whale hidden treasure. Someone had come to deal with the Origin Whale Emperor. Chu Fengmian had wanted to take advantage of the chaos to escape and not get involved in this mess. But this time, the Black Whale hidden treasure was involved. Although Chu Fengmian was alone, and it was almost impossible to take away the Black Whale hidden treasure in front of so many experts, he still had to try. Chu Fengmian might not be able to take away the entire Black Whale hidden treasure. Even if he only got a part of it, it would be a great fortune for him. Just like the palace Chu Fengmian encountered in the sacrificial lake, he had only taken 1/10 of the divine elixir pills. That was 10,000 divine elixir pills, which was more than the number of divine elixir pills Chu Fengmian had seen in his life. Chu Fengmian had used up all his accumulated wealth when he tried to break through to the half-step celestial being stage. Now, he did not have a single immortal stone. It could be said that he was broke, since the Xian Jing secret treasure was collected by the Xian Jing divine beast. The treasures in it must be priceless. There must be a lot of immortal stones in it. All of this made Chu Fengmian change his mind. The black whale hidden treasure was worth a try. Chu Fengmian was hiding in the belly of the origin whale emperor. It could be said that he was in the best place. Even people as strong as the Demon Slayer Emperor and young Master Yin could not detect his existence. Chu Fengmian could take advantage of their bloody battle to be the first to sneak into the black whale hidden treasure and plunder it. Speaking of being a thief, the current Chu Fengmian could be said to be very familiar with it. He had stolen the Sword Dao totem of the Sea Sword sect and snuck into the sacrificial lake. Each time, he had obtained incomparably great benefits. The black whale hidden treasure was right in front of him. Of course, Chu Fengmian would not let it go. Boom! Just as Chu Fengmian was thinking, a wave of demonic will had already rushed over. The entire origin whale emperor's inner world began to shake, and the sky and earth began to spin. At the same time, Chu Fengmian also felt a boundless anger. The siege of the Demon Slayer Emperor, young Master Yin, and the others had begun. 10 Celestial Realm experts launched an attack at the origin whale emperor at the same time. For a moment, the mountains and rivers were shattered. The aftershock of the impact killed countless martial artists and demon immortals hiding in the chaotic ocean. Even a half-step celestial being realm expert would find it hard to withstand such a powerful aftershock. Martial artists and demon immortals below the 9 tribulations ancient emperor realm did not even have the slightest ability to resist. As long as they were slightly affected by the aftershock, they would be shaken to death. 10 Celestial Realm experts, 2 of which were at the peak of the Celestial Realm, and the Immortal General Realm experts, attacked together. The power was incomparably strong. If Chu Fengmian was in the center of this power, he would be blasted to death. He would not be able to resist at all. Fortunately, Chu Fengmian was hiding in the Origin Whale Emperor's inner world, so he would not be affected by it. The Origin Whale Emperor's inner world was originally a cage for Chu Fengmian. But now, it was a natural barrier that could help Chu Fengmian resist the impact of the external forces. The joint forces of these 10 people are really terrifying. Chu Fengmian hid in the Origin Whale Emperor's inner world. Although he could not see the scene outside, Chu Fengmian could feel how terrifying the joint forces of these 10 people were through the spiritual energy waves alone. 10 celestial realm experts working together. Before coming to the vast sea star region, Chu Fengmian would not have dared to imagine such a scene. Even the Origin Whale Emperor, who was at the profound Heaven Realm and Immortal Marquis Realm, was forced to retreat under the joint forces of these 10 people. It was difficult for him to resist the joint attacks of these 10 people. Set a small goal first, such as 1 second to remember. Book Guesthouse Mobile Version. Chapter 2014. The Yuan Whale Emperor was already in a state of madness. His actual strength was not even comparable to a true immortal marquis, not to mention that he was already injured. When the demonic spear pierced into the flesh of the Origin Whale Emperor, it constantly consumed the Origin Whale Emperor's power, causing him to only have about 70% of his original strength. However, even so, the Origin Whale Emperor still unleashed his overwhelming power and swept his body aside in the face of the besiegement of the 10 martialists. Although the Yuan Whale Emperor's body was incomparably huge, his speed was also extremely fast. One should know that Chu Fengmian's escape light was far slower than the Yuan Whale Emperor's speed. The 10 Celestial Realm experts, except for the Demon Slayer Emperor and young Master Yin, were all sent flying. So strong. Chu Fengmian's expression changed slightly. The Yuan Whale Emperor had already gone mad and was severely injured. Even so, he was still able to counterattack against the joint attack of the 10 Celestial Realm experts. Seeing the Yuan Whale Emperor's attack, Chu Fengmian dared not imagine how terrifying a true immortal marquis would be. An expert who had gone mad and possessed consciousness were completely different. Even if their strength was the same, their strength would be completely different. If the Origin Whale Emperor had its own consciousness, it would have been able to kill and injure these 10 sky humans in a few moves. He would not be in such a disadvantageous position like he was now. The Origin Whale Emperor sent the 8 celestial realm experts flying. Then, he charged forward, intending to follow up with another attack. However, the Demon Slayer Emperor suddenly made his move. When they were besieging the Yuan Whale Emperor, the Demon Slayer Emperor had been accumulating his strength instead of using his full strength. This time, he poured all his demonic will into the Immortal Extermination Scepter in his hand. Suddenly, the Immortal Extermination Scepter swung down from the sky. The boundless demonic will turned into a huge palm that pressed down and slammed heavily on the Yuan Whale Emperor's back. The gigantic demonic palm slammed down from the sky. Even a heavenly human realm expert would not be able to withstand it. Yuan Jing Emperor's body trembled as he let out a long roar after taking on the demonic palm. At this moment, the mysterious young master, Yin, also made his move. He pointed his finger, and an image suddenly appeared in the air. The image came crashing down with a loud bang. The power of this image was even stronger than the demonic palm formed by the demon-slaying Emperor's Immortal Extermination Scepter. Boom! After enduring so many consecutive attacks, even the Origin Whale Emperor was starting to feel like he couldn't hold on much longer. Even the Yuan Whale Emperor wasn't a match for the 10 sky human realm powerhouses when they joined forces. He was on the verge of collapsing. Countless cracks had already appeared in the internal world of the Origin Whale Emperor, where Chu Fengyan was. The entire internal world was on the verge of shattering. If Chu Fengyan wanted to leave the internal world of the Yuan Whale Emperor, he could do so at any time. However, Chu Fengyan didn't act rashly. If Chu Fengyan suddenly went out, he would definitely be attacked by the 10 celestial realm experts. They would not want others to know about the secret of the Black Whale hidden treasure. Once Chu Fengyan was besieged by the 10 celestial realm experts, he would not be able to escape no matter how many tricks he had up his sleeves. Previously, Chu Fengyan had to resort to all sorts of methods and almost died to the monarch's hands. This time, there were 2 immortal generals among the 10 celestial realm experts, who were comparable to the Ocean Reverence Emperor. Chu Fengyan did not want to be besieged. Although the Yuan Whale Emperor was severely injured, he was still an immortal marquee realm, primordial rare beast. He managed to repel the attacks of the Demon Slayer Emperor, Young Master Yin, and the others. However, this was also because the Demon Slayer Emperor, Young Master Yin, and the others did not go all out against the Yuan Whale Emperor. If they really went all out, they would have killed the Yuan Whale Emperor long ago. Although the Yuan Whale Emperor was seriously injured, he still possessed enough strength to kill a celestial realm expert at any time. Even the Demon Slayer Emperor and Young Master Yin did not dare to take the risk, fearing that they would be injured by the Yuan Whale Emperor's final counterattack. Now that the Yuan Whale Emperor was severely injured, he would die sooner or later. The Demon Slayer Emperor and the others were not willing to take the risk. Half an hour passed. Chu Fengyan was fully focused on the battle outside. The Yuan Whale Emperor had less than 1/10 of his strength left. He could be killed by the Demon Slayer Emperor and the others at any time. Chu Fengyan was also carefully observing the situation. Once the Yuan Whale Emperor fell, Chu Fengyan would no longer be able to hide. At that time, Chu Fengyan would have to find an opportunity to escape. Outside in the chaotic ocean, the Yuan Whale Emperor's body was covered in wounds. Under the siege of the 10 celestial realm experts, he was on the verge of collapse. The 10 celestial realm experts were well aware of the situation. The Yuan Whale Emperor can't hold on much longer. Don't waste time. Kill him. Let's go for the treasure. Kill. After a few discussions, the 10 celestial realm experts decided not to delay any longer. They would use all their strength to kill the Yuan Whale Emperor. The 10 celestial realm experts unleashed their full strength at the same time. For a moment, their immortal energy boiled, and their demonic will soared to the sky. The 10 celestial realm experts exuded a shocking aura as they unleashed their strongest killing moves at the Yuan Whale Emperor. Among the 10 auras, the most powerful ones were the auras of the Demon Slayer Emperor and Young Master Yin. Their auras were enough to shock the heavens. Just one of them was more terrifying than the other 8 celestial realm experts' auras combined. In an instant, countless killing moves descended and swept towards the Yuan Whale Emperor. In the face of so many killing moves, the Yuan Whale Emperor could no longer resist. Roar! With an earth-shattering roar, the Yuan Whale Emperor turned around and swam towards the center of the sea eye. It seemed like he was going to escape into the center of the sea eye. The Yuan Whale Emperor is going to escape into the Xianjing secret treasure. Seeing this, the Northern Mountain Ocean Emperor was overjoyed. Originally, after killing the Yuan Whale Emperor, they still needed to search for the Xianjing secret treasure. However, if the Origin Whale Emperor wanted to escape into the Black Whale secret treasure, it would save them the time to search for the Black Whale secret treasure. As long as they chased after the Origin Whale Emperor, they could follow the Origin Whale Emperor into the Black Whale secret treasure. After him, set a small goal first, such as 1 second to remember. Book Guest House Mobile Version. Chapter 2015. Without any hesitation, the 10 Celestial Realm experts activated their escape lights and chased after the Yuan Jing Emperor. All of them were extremely excited, as if they could already imagine that the Black Jing Emperor's secret treasure was right in front of them and within their reach. How could they not be excited? Even a little treasure from the Black Jing Emperor's secret treasure would be a great fortune for them. The 10 escape lights quickly chased after the Yuan Jing Emperor and flew towards the eye of the chaotic Essence Sea. However, at this moment, something strange happened. Suddenly, a crack tore open in the chaotic Qi Sea. Suddenly, a surge of boundless spiritual Qi descended and blocked the 10 streaks of light. Following the arrival of this spiritual force, 5 figures suddenly flew out from the crack. Each of the 5 figures contained a terrifying aura. Without exception, they were all Celestial Realm experts. At this moment, another 5 Celestial Realm experts arrived. Among the 5 Celestial Realm experts, 2 of them looked familiar to Chu Fengmian. They were Sea Emperor Donglin and Sea Emperor Jihai from the Sea Sacrifice sect. Chu Fengmian wasn't surprised by the arrival of the East Forest Ocean Emperor and the Reverence Ocean Emperor. The Black Whale Hidden Treasure was a huge treasure trove, even for the Reverence Ocean Emperor. Now that the Black Jing Emperor's secret treasure was in the Shanghai Star Field, Sea Emperor Jihai would not let it go. Nothing that happened in the Shanghai Star Field could escape Sea Emperor Jihai's eyes. Sea Emperor Jihai naturally knew about the opening of the Black Jing Emperor's secret treasure. Chu Fengmian was surprised that the Ocean Emperor did not show up earlier on. But now, it seemed like the Ocean Emperor must have been waiting by the side for a long time. Furthermore, the demon-slaying Emperor wasn't the only one who had found helper. The Ocean Emperor had found a helper as well. The 3 martial artists beside him were not weaker than the 3 from Yin Prince's side. In fact, they were even stronger than the 3 from Yin Prince's side. These 3 warriors were all young men. Judging from their age, they were very close to young Master Yan's group. The 3 of them contained a faint demonic intent. The leading young man among the 3 was not weaker than Yin Prince. He had also reached the peak of the Celestial Realm and was in the Immortal General Realm. However, in terms of aura, the young man's aura was vaguely stronger than Yin Prince's. These 3 cultivators should also be genius cultivators from the 3 great holy domains. It was just unknown which holy domain they belonged to and which force they belonged to. The Demon Slayer Emperors and Yin Gongzi's expressions changed slightly when they saw the 5 figures. It was as if they hadn't expected this. The young man appeared and swept his gaze across the area below. The corners of his mouth curled into a cold smile as he spoke. Looks like you have arrived just in time. Yin Tiangang, do you really think that the few of you can monopolize the Xianjing secret treasure? Yin Prince Yan's real name. Yin Gongzi's strength was unparalleled in the Shanghai Star Zone. Even the Demon Slayer Emperor addressed Yin Tiangang as Yin Gongzi. Devour, however, this young man had addressed Yin Tiangang by name the moment he opened his mouth. This meant that he did not place Yin Tiangang's identity in the slightest. It should be said that this young man's status was not inferior to Yin Tiangang's at all. That was the reason why he did not care about Yin Tiangong's origin. Blood Moon Monarch. Yin Tiangang snorted coldly when he saw the young man. He recognized the young man's identity. Blood Moon Monarch. This isn't a genius from the realm Devil Heavens. It's said that he's a genius who inherited the bloodline of one of the 10 great royal families. Hearing this name, the Bailing Ocean Emperor and the Linjian Ocean Emperor's expressions changed. They seem to have heard of this name before. Compared to the Great Haven Law Starfield and the Yama Starfield, the Vast Sea Starfield was a Grade 2 starfield. The Bailing Ocean Emperor and the Linjian Ocean Emperor were not ignorant of the affairs of the 3 great sacred regions. They had also heard of some of the dazzling geniuses of the 3 great sacred regions. They seem to have heard of the name of Bloody Moon Evil Master. The 10 royal families were the descendants of the 10 celestial demons, the ancestors of the ancient demon tribe. The Bloody Moon Demon Master had inherited the bloodline of one of the 10 celestial demons. He was known as the royal family of the demon tribe and was extremely powerful. Yin Tiangang was already the most amazing genius Chu Fengyan had ever seen. Although Bloody Moon Evil Master was younger than Yin Tiangang, his strength was already above Yin Tiangang. He had completely surpassed Yin Tiangang. Therefore, even the Bailing Ocean Emperor and the Linjian Ocean Emperor of the Vast Sea Starfield had heard of the Blood Moon Monarch before. Even the people of the realm Demon Sky have appeared. When Chu Fengyan saw the arrival of the Blood Moon Monarch, he had not expected the Dark Whale's secret treasure to be so involved. First, the genius martial artists of the Jihua Heaven had arrived. This time, even the genius martial artists of the realm Demon Sky had come. The realm Demon Sky was the most mysterious of the 3 sacred realms. This was because it was different from the Jihua Heaven, which was dominated by the human race, and the Lihan Heaven, which was dominated by the 100 races. The realm Demon Sky was a sacred realm dominated by the demon race. They were not demon immortals who cultivated the demon path, but pure demon race that had inherited the bloodline of the 10 sky demons. Therefore, the people from the pacification realm would not appear in the other starfields. Chu Fengyan had met Yu Wuhin of the Lihan Heaven before. He had also met a few martial artists of the Jihua Heaven who had set their sights on the Swordway sect. However, this was the first time Chu Fengyan had met someone from the realm Demon Sky. The Dark Whale's secret treasure was indeed a treasure left behind by an innate divine beast. Now, it had attracted the attention of the people of the 3 sacred realms. The Ocean Worship Monarch had probably noticed that the Demon Slayer Emperor and Yin Tiangang had joined forces. Therefore, he had enlisted the help of the Blood Moon Monarch of the realm Demon Sky. Although there were only 5 people on the Ocean Worship Monarch side, which was twice as many as Yin Tiangong's and the Demon Slayer Emperor's side, the outcome of the battle was still uncertain. The Blood Moon Monarch alone would be difficult for Yin Tiangang to deal with. The Blood Moon Monarch, who had inherited the bloodline of the 10 great royal races, might be able to take on 2 or 3 demon immortals of the same level. Even if Yin Tiangang and the Demon Slayer Emperor joined forces, they might not be a match for the Blood Moon Monarch. Therefore, the Blood Moon Monarch only had 5 people on the Ocean Worship Monarch side. However, the Ocean Worship Monarch and Yin Tiangong's side did not dare act rashly. Loading up next chapters. Chapter 2016. At this time, even the experts of the celestial realm did not dare to act rashly. No one dared to be the first to stand out. However, the Ocean Worship Emperor's side did not dare to act rashly either. Both sides were in a stalemate. This is an excellent opportunity. While these people are in a stalemate, I should enter the Black Jing's secret treasure and plunder it first. Chu Fengyan thought excitedly as he watched the stalemate outside. This stalemate was the best opportunity for Chu Fengyan. The Origin Whale Emperor was already exhausted and didn't have much energy left when he dived into the depths of the Eye of the Sea. Now that the internal world of the Origin Whale Emperor no longer had any restrictions on Chu Fengyan, he could easily explore it with his spiritual consciousness and see an ancient door behind the Origin Whale Emperor's body. This ancient door had existed for at least hundreds of thousands of years. The power on it was extremely ancient. However, even after such a long time, the ancient door still contained an extremely tyrannical power. Hundreds of thousands of years had not been able to loosen the restriction array formation on this ancient door. This kind of power could not be underestimated. It's the power of the mysterious whale. Even if the person who set up this door was not the real mysterious whale, he must have been an ancient ancestor of the origin whale clan. Otherwise, it would not have been possible to possess such pure mysterious whale power. When Chu Fengyan sensed the power of the mysterious whale on the ancient door, he knew very well what was behind it. It could only be the Black Jing's secret treasure. The origin whale emperor was standing guard in front of the door. It seemed like he was in a fight to the death. Although the origin whale emperor had gone crazy, the command of his bloodline told him to protect the mysterious whale's secret treasure, even if he had to die. Let's go. The origin whale emperor was seriously injured and did not have much strength left. Hence, he was unable to stop Chu Fengyan. The Black Jing's secret treasure was right in front of him. If he did not enter now, when would he? If Chu Fengyan waited until Ocean Monarch, Devil Slayer Monarch, and the others arrived, he would lose this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even though Chu Fengyan's strength had improved compared to the time when he fought Ocean Monarch, Chu Fengyan still couldn't defeat Ocean Monarch. However, if Chu Fengyan were to face an immortal general, he still wouldn't be able to contend against them. The gap between immortal energy and spiritual energy wasn't something that Chu Fengyan could make up for with his various fortuitous encounters. Unless he obtained a large amount of immortal stones and burned them, he wouldn't be able to do so. Whoosh! Chu Fengyan suddenly turned into an escape light and flew out of the internal world of the Yuan Whale Emperor. Chu Feng had been lying dormant in the origin whale emperor's internal world. He had been waiting for this opportunity for so long. His body flickered repeatedly as he flew towards the ancient door. Roar! The origin whale emperor sensed Chu Fengyan's presence in an instant. He could tell that Chu Fengyan wanted to enter the mysterious whale secret treasure. He couldn't help but be enraged to the extreme. His boundless power spurred the waves to bombard Chu Fengyan. Immortal true body. Chu Fengyan let out a long roar. The 129,600 immortal crystals in his body exploded with a loud rumble. The immortal crystals merged into Chu Fengyan's body one after another. These 129,600 immortal crystals formed a great formation around Chu Fengyan's body. It was an invincible formation that could defend against all attacks in the world. These 129,600 immortal crystals had been refined by swallowing countless saint pills while he was in the mysterious whale emperor's stomach. Their defensive power was far greater than before. Moreover, the origin whale emperor was now an oil lamp at the end of its life. He had less than a tenth of his strength left. The power of this wave was no longer as terrifying as before. Chu Fengyan pushed the power of his immortal true body to the extreme and forcefully resisted the attack of the wave. However, even if the origin whale emperor had less than a tenth of his strength left, the power of this wave was still more terrifying than Chu Fengyan had expected. Chu Fengyan's body trembled continuously. The immortal crystals that had just been reconstructed showed signs of shattering. Fortunately, the origin whale emperor didn't have much strength left. After unleashing this wave, he couldn't follow up with another attack. Chu Fengyan's body suddenly rushed in the direction of the ancient gate. Just as Chu Fengyan was about to activate the sky-devouring secret technique to dissolve the seal on the ancient gate, he suddenly approached the ancient gate. However, he felt that the seal on the ancient gate didn't attack Chu Fengyan. Instead, as Chu Fengyan approached the gate, a ray of light condensed above the ancient gate and surrounded Chu Fengyan. With the protection of such a ray of light, the seal on the ancient gate didn't attack Chu Fengyan at all. Chu Fengyan's body directly entered the ancient gate. What's going on? Could it be because of the mysterious whale bloodline? Is the mysterious whale hidden treasure left for the demon immortals who possess the mysterious whale bloodline? Although Chu Fengyan was surprised, it was a good thing that the seal on the ancient gate didn't require Chu Fengyan to use the sky-devouring secret technique to dissolve it. Without a technique like the sky-devouring secret technique, even immortal generals like the Ocean Monarch and the Demon Slayer Monarch would need some time to break the seal on the ancient gate. Now that Chu Fengmian had left the seal on the ancient gate, it could buy some time for Chu Fengmian. Let's go. Chu Fengmian didn't hesitate. His body flickered as he flew into the mysterious whale hidden treasure. Seeing Chu Fengmian enter the mysterious whale hidden treasure, the Origin Whale Emperor roared furiously. The entire chaotic spirit sea could feel his anger. On the other side, the Ocean Monarch and the Blood Moon Monarch were still in a stalemate with the Demon Slayer Monarch and Yin Tiangang. They seemed to be arguing about devouring incessantly. However, as they were arguing, the Origin Whale Emperor's furious roar broke the silence. Everyone couldn't help but look in the direction of the Origin Whale Emperor. Everyone present was a celestial realm expert. Everything that happened under the eye of the sea could not be hidden from their eyes. They clearly saw a figure entering the ancient gate and entering the dark whale's secret treasure that they had been dreaming of. While they were still arguing, someone had already taken the lead and entered the Xianjing secret treasure ahead of them. Loading up next chapters. Chapter 2017. Someone broke into the dark whale secret treasure. There's someone else hiding in the chaotic ocean? What's going on? The moment they heard Chu Fengmian's voice, all the celestial realm experts were in an uproar. They were now in a stalemate, arguing endlessly about the ownership of the dark whale's secret treasure. But at this moment, someone had entered the dark whale's secret treasure faster than them and took the lead. He was simply making a fool out of all of them. However, almost all of the sky human realm experts present had scouted the chaotic ocean. In this chaotic ocean, there should be no other living beings other than them. They couldn't figure out when this person had appeared and entered the black whale hidden treasure. They were all celestial realm experts. Naturally, they wouldn't be mistaken. Don't waste time here. If we continue arguing, the dark whale's secret treasure will be taken by someone else. The treasures in the dark whale secret treasure will belong to whoever takes the most. Bloody Moon Evil Master let out a long howl. After he finished speaking, he turned into a blood-red light and rushed toward the mysterious whale hidden treasure. Let's rely on our own abilities. Yin Tiangang also let out a long howl and followed closely behind, which was a tacit agreement with Bloody Moon Evil Master's words. If Chu Fengmian didn't appear suddenly, they could still continue arguing. But now that Chu Fengmian appeared, they would only let others take advantage of them if they continued arguing. Since Chu Fengmian was the first to enter the dark whale's secret treasure, the second and third place were meaningless. The celestial realm experts present all rushed towards the direction of the black whale hidden treasure. It was a result they wanted to see. There were so many experts, and it was so chaotic. Everyone wanted to take advantage of it. In the dark whale secret treasure, Chu Fengmian heard the roar of the Yuan Whale Emperor outside. Chu Fengmian clearly knew that as long as Chu Fengmian entered the black whale's secret trove, the argument outside would stop. After all, no one wanted to see Chu Fengmian monopolize the black whale's secret trove. I hope the seal on the ancient door and the Yuan Whale Emperor can hold on for a while. Chu Fengmian thought to himself. After entering the black whale's secret treasure, Chu Fengmian did not hesitate to fly into the depths of the black whale's secret treasure. The dark whale's secret trove was the secret trove of an innate divine beast. The treasures it contained were definitely not ordinary. Although Chu Fengmian didn't have a big appetite to take the dark whale secret trove for himself, he still didn't want it. But now, Chu Fengmian had seized the opportunity and was the first to enter the black whale's secret treasure. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He had to seize it properly. The most precious treasure of the black whale's secret treasure was also in his hands. The black whale hidden treasure was a corridor that stretched as far as the eye could see. On both sides of the corridor, there were secret chambers. Within each secret chamber, there were altars. On top of these altars, there were numerous spiritual weapons, sage pills, and even immortal stones. Chu Fengmian could tell at a glance that both the spiritual weapons and the sage elixir pills were not ordinary items. These spiritual weapons were at least some half-immortal weapons. The sage elixir pills around them were also sage elixir pills of higher quality from the Middle Ages. They were all priceless treasures. These spiritual weapons and sage elixir pills were placed on top of the altars. They seem to be sacrificial items. This black whale secret trove doesn't seem to be a treasure trove. Instead, it's a place of sacrifice. Chu Fengmian couldn't help but think when he saw the altars in the secret chamber. He had thought that this place, which was called the Black Whale Secret Trove by Demon Slayer Emperor, Ocean Emperor Worship, and the others, should be a treasure trove left behind by the Black Whale Secret Trove. But now, when he saw the altars, Chu Fengmian felt that this should be a place of sacrifice. These spiritual weapons and sage elixir pills were actually sacrificial items placed on top of the altars. But even if they were sacrificial items, the quality of these spiritual weapons and sage elixir pills was extremely high. Chu Fengmian didn't hold back. Since he was here, he was going to sweep the Black Whale Secret Trove clean. Chu Fengmian waved his hand and activated the Sky Devouring Secret skill. After collecting all the spiritual weapons and sage elixir pills on top of the altars, Chu Fengmian continued to fly deeper into the corridor. The secret chambers and altars were filled with treasures. Spiritual weapons, materials, sage elixir pills, spiritual stones, and so on. As long as Chu Fengmian came across them, he would collect all of them without exception, leaving nothing behind. This should be a place built by some top powers of the Yuan whale clan to worship the black whale. There were altars placed in every secret chamber. This made Chu Fengmian believe that this should be a place of sacrifice and not a treasure trove. The black whale was probably the only place of sacrifice. After all, this place was called the Black Whale Secret Trove. The black whale was an innate divine beast. It was born and raised by the heavens. Naturally, it wouldn't take the initiative to offer sacrifices. There was nothing in the world that was qualified for the black whale to offer sacrifices. This place of worship should have been built by the descendants of the mysterious whale and the powerhouses of the origin whale race to offer sacrifices to the mysterious whale. Although it was a place of sacrifice, this corridor was not much different from treasure trove. Large amounts of treasures were placed on top of the altars in every secret chamber. Chu Fengmian opened another secret chamber. At a glance, there were many blue-green stones piled up on top of the altar, forming a small pile of stones. Immortal stones. Chu Fengmian felt an incomparably pure immortal power when he entered the secret technique. He took a look and saw that the blue-green stones piled up on top of the altar were all immortal stones. There were hundreds of immortal stones piled up together. When Chu Fengmian entered the Black Whale Secret Trove, he mostly collected materials for spiritual weapons. He didn't see many real immortal stones, only a few occasionally. Now that he came across this altar, he saw that it was filled with immortal stones. Now, Chu Fengmian needed a large amount of immortal stones. He needed a large amount of immortal stones to activate the Life Great Seal, condense the immortal real body, and even increase his cultivation level in the future. Compared to materials for spiritual weapons, Chu Fengmian needed immortal stones the most. Chu Fengmian's original goal in entering the Black Whale Secret Trove was to collect a large amount of immortal stones. Now he finally found it. Without any hesitation, Chu Fengmian grabbed all the immortal stones on the altar and stored them in his spatial ring. After a quick count, he found that there were more than 150 immortal stones on the altar. Set a small goal first, such as 1 second to remember. Book Guest House Mobile Edition. Chapter 2018. Immortal stones were the real hard currency. Even for celestial realm experts, or even profound heaven realm experts, they were definitely hard currency. Anything could be bought with a large amount of immortal stones. Therefore, Chu Fengmian was even more excited when he saw these immortal stones than when he was collecting the altars. More than 150 immortal stones were all stored in Chu Fengmian's spatial ring. In addition to the immortal stones on the altars that Chu Fengmian had encountered before, he now had over 200 immortal stones. Even if Chu Fengmian left now, it would still be a great harvest. However, Chu Fengmian wouldn't leave now. This sacrificial altar was only one of the numerous secret rooms in the corridor. There were countless such secret rooms and altars. Chu Fengyan couldn't see the end of the corridor. He couldn't imagine how many altars there were. Just as Chu Fengyan collected the immortal stones, a loud boom resounded. At the same time, Chu Fengyan felt a wave of spiritual energy rushing towards him. The door of the Xianjing secret treasure had been broken. The Origin Whale Emperor was no longer breathing. Apparently, he had been killed by the joint forces of Ocean Worship Emperor, Demon Slayer Emperor, and the others. This time, they had a total of 15 Celestial Realm experts and 4 immortal generals. With such strength, they could easily sweep through a second-grade starfield like the Shanghai starfield. The Origin Whale Emperor and the door of the Xianjing secret treasure couldn't withstand the joint attack and had been destroyed. Let's go. The things in these secret rooms are all ordinary. The real treasures should be in the depths of the corridor. Seeing Ocean Monarch, Demon Slayer Monarch, and the others rush in, Chu Fengyan instantly turned into a beam of light and flew into the depths of the corridor. He didn't collect the immortal stones even when he passed by some secret rooms. Only when he came across altars full of immortal stones would Chu Fengyan stop and collect them. Chu Fengyan didn't stop either. He quickly flew towards the depths of the corridor. His beam of light was pushed to the extreme. Chu Fengyan even took out a dozen immortal stones and burned them. He used his immortal qi to drive the beam of light even faster. Burning immortal stones to activate streaks of light was simply an extremely extravagant act. However, in the Black Whale secret treasure, every second counted. If Chu Fengyan could gain more time, he would be able to obtain more treasures. After collecting several immortal stones from the altars, Chu Fengyan had more than 1,000 immortal stones in his possession. It could be said that Chu Fengyan barely had this number of immortal stones at his peak. Even the entire wealth of a celestial realm expert might not necessarily have so many immortal stones. It could be said that this time, Chu Fengyan had truly become rich overnight. He had been hiding in the Origin Whale Emperor's internal world for so long and had seized the initiative. So many immortal stones were his reward for seizing the initiative. What happened? Why are the altars in this secret chamber empty? Where's the treasure? Behind Chu Fengyan, the celestial realm experts who had entered the Black Whale secret treasure couldn't wait to rush towards the secret chambers. However, what they saw were empty altars. There wasn't even a single strand of treasure on the altars. Damn it, all the treasures have been taken away. Damn it, that person has collected so many treasures. Looking at the empty altars, the East Forest Ocean Emperor and the Waterfront Sword Ocean Emperor were enraged. It was as if all the treasures in their hands had been snatched away by someone else. They were furious to the extreme. Let's go. To the front. There are more treasures ahead. The Black Whale's secret treasure is so big. That kid can't have collected everything by himself. More celestial realm experts had already reacted. The corridor of the Black Whale's secret treasure was endless. It wasn't something that could be collected by one person in a short period of time. Their streaks of light flew forward, and as expected, they saw some secret chambers that hadn't been taken away by anyone. On top of the altars, there was a dazzling array of treasures, causing them to be dazzled. Half-immortal artifacts, ancient sacred elixirs, and even ancient sacred elixirs. These kinds of treasures were hard to buy outside, even if one paid a sky-high price. Piled up on the altar, many of them were supreme treasures for celestial being experts. Mine. This altar is mine. Get out of here, I saw it first. For a moment, many celestial realm experts had already begun to fight for the treasures on the altars. However, there were 4 figures who didn't join in. They were the 4 immortal generals of the overlooking Sea Emperor. They looked at the treasures on the altars and didn't fight for them. Instead, they turned into rays of light and flew towards the depths of the corridor. They could see that since Chu Fengyan had given up on the treasures in the secret chambers, he must be aiming for the Black Whale's secret treasure, the treasure in the deepest part of the corridor. The treasure in the deepest part of the corridor was the real treasure of the Black Whale secret treasure. Although the half-immortal artifacts, sacred elixirs, and immortal stones were priceless to them. Their target was the real treasure of the black whale secret treasure. Without any conversation, the 4 rays of light flew towards the depths of the corridor. I can't continue to collect treasures. Chu Fengmian collected another altar full of immortal stones. All of a sudden, his expression flickered as he saw the 4 figures behind him closing in on him. The 4 figures were all immortal generals. Any one of them was someone that Chu Fengmian couldn't contend with. Chu Fengmian wanted to go straight to the depths of the corridor to collect the real treasure of the black whale secret treasure. However, it seemed that the 4 of them had the same idea as Chu Fengmian. They were all aiming for the real treasure in the depths of the corridor. The secret chambers couldn't hold them back at all. After Chu Fengmian left the secret chamber, he burned another 50 immortal stones to boost his speed to the maximum. After collecting a few more immortal stones from the altars, Chu Fengmian now had more than 2,000 immortal stones. He could be considered rich now and could use them for a while. Moreover, the consumption of these immortal stones was worth it for the real treasure of the black whale secret treasure. Chu Fengmian collected a large amount of immortal stones because he wanted to use the life seal to fight against Overlooking Sea Emperor and the others. With these immortal stones, Chu Fengmian would have the capital to fight against Overlooking Sea Emperor, Demon Slayer Monarch, Blood Moon Monarch, and the other immortal generals. Set a small goal first, such as 1 second to remember. Book Guesthouse Mobile Edition that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.